Hey everyone. So, as you can see from the time codes down there, this is a long one. This is the talk I just gave at KakalakiCon, one of my favorite events. Absolutely love it to death. And yeah, I have been working on this silly talk for months, and it turned out to not be so silly. It turned out to be really rewarding for so many people. I told them, I was like, hey, this is not an hour. This is going to be a 90-minute talk, And they're like, yeah, you're fine. Just go. We put you in the last time slot. You're great. I'm like, okay, we'll go with it. And people kept asking questions and asking questions. And I was like, holy shit, is this much excitement? Is it about a topic like this? So we just went with it. And I do my best to repeat the audience questions. So you'll get some of that. Also, the official con recording, I have that, but their capture setup didn't work correctly. So we lost a ton of the talk. So thank goodness I redundancy, right? I have the backup. I'm really happy with this. And I hope you will be too. I hope you learned something. It is, the deeper you dive into it, it's a fascinating topic, especially for all of my viewers out there who are a little obsessive, a little non-neurotypical, who really get into the minutia of the systems that are powering our world and are sort of hidden in plain sight all around us. If you're that type of person, if that's the kind of stuff you really enjoy, you'll like this one. I mean, KakalakiCon was born to host this talk because the whole audience is tracking right around that lane, and I had a great time with it. I hope you do too. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for attending. I'll see you next year. Yeah, stay safe out there.
This is the man who needs no introductions, but I'm giving him one anyway, Deviant.
Thank you so much. Perfect. Dig it. All right, this should be, I hope, fun. There's a chance, it's a quick show of hands, who's already been to the bar? All right, that's enough. Some of this material is going to be dry, but if you're like a certain flavor of neurospicy, you just get really into obscure knowledge, and maybe you'll be way into it. They gave me the last time slot, so we can just run as long as we like. We rehearsed this for the first time the other night, and it was like 90 minutes or so. So again, I accept questions from the audience, I accept drinks from the audience, I accept the audience going to get drinks and ask other questions. I hope you have a good time with this, and it's going to be an interesting mix of like boring policy and fun hacker knowledge and obscure stuff. So right off the bat, if anyone out there is an author or like a budding screenwriter or something, I'll give you a movie plot idea here. Free to use it, license free, Creative Commons, knock yourselves out. Imagine, car chase. Our hero of the film, they're like trading paint with some assailant, the typical rolled down windows, shooting guns out the windows, and bang, boom, bang, and all of a sudden a screech of tires, crash, bang, horrible accident, screen goes black. And our protagonist wakes up in a hospital. And, beeping machinery, and they're kind of groggy. So it's like, oh my God, what's happened to me? Am I going to be here? Am I under surveillance right now? Is there a guard out? There's no one in this room. They kind of gather themselves. They really quietly silence the alarms on their machine as they start taking an IV out and taking off their EKG pads. Okay, all right, I got to get out of here, because even if this hospital doesn't know who I am, the protagonist says, somebody's coming for me. All right, look outside the room. Hospital gown still on. There's some people in this wing, but again, no enemy soldiers are in there. So all right, let's start moving around cautiously. Let's first of all stop looking like this. The hero slips into a closet. They find some hospital scrubs, actually get some white medical sneakers in their size. COVID, they put a mask on. Okay, I can move around a little bit more freely. Let's walk down these halls, they say to themselves. And they find a door. It's clearly a signposted exit. They're like, well, let's get the hell out of here. But there's something about this door, and I can, as again, a physical security person, I look at this door, I can immediately tell you something's weird. The fact that they have mechanical locking hardware and electromagnetic locking hardware. Why is there multiple locking hardware? And our hero of this film is going to quickly learn that something's weird, because there's a staff member 20 yards down the hall in front of them proceeding to the door, but before they go to the door, the staff member kind of boops their badge and leaves. And when they get up to the door, which is now shut again, our protagonist tries the door and quickly learns what some of you may have gleaned. This is not a regular exit, right? In fact, the signage on the door would indicate, Yes, you have to use that card reader. This is a controlled egress point. You can't just leave. And you might say, that's really incongruous. Why is it's an exit, but like not an exit? We'll get into all of that kind of stuff, right? This is an example of what's called controlled egress. It is not allowed in most situations. There are environments where you can have this. And this mechanically locked door, like the push bar, the touch bar works, but they're not releasing the mag locks. So our hero, they got to get out, right? What are they going to do? So they don't want to dwell around here too much. Let's look around for some other stuff. They're looking around. Maybe there's like a circuit breaker panel. Maybe they can kill the power, because that's how you kill those mag locks. Now they don't find a circuit breaker. Oh, there's some outlets on the ground. I could shove a fork in there. That might get a little sparky and look weird. Let's try something else. Let's keep looking around. Well, there's this closet. We got a closet over here. The closet's locked, but it's clearly a service closet. Maybe there's a circuit breaker in there. Our hero has learned some physical penetration, so they find a hospital medical chart on a wall. They look at the plastic cover, and they kind of slip the door open. You do a little shimming. And now they're in the service closet. There is no circuit breaker, but there's a mop and bucket. They could social engineer. Maybe they're the janitor. No, they're in a hospital gown still. What are they going to do? Well, they take this mop handle, and they look above them, and they see the sprinkler head. They kind of line it up a little bit. Bam! They smash that. Water starts pissing out of the pipe. They quickly get out of there, close that closet, and go across the hall into the restroom. And there's other staff in there. They're milling about, and they kind of make a show of washing their hands in the sink. But what they're doing is just counting in their head. 20 seconds, 30 seconds. All right, and they leave the bathroom, and just as they're leaving the bathroom, sirens and alarms start going off. They push the door immediately opens, and they're out in the lobby. And you take it from there, right? I mean, if you're a good Hollywood scriptwriter, what you do is you imagine the charge nurse is like mustering up these patients, getting them out to, a point of contact outside. So you go behind the desk, maybe there's a coat, you slip the coat on, you're walking out, you pat the pockets, you find a key fob, you're like, all right, start chirping, where's the employee lot? The employee lot's over there. Go to that person's car, which is obviously unlocked. They sit in the car, obviously it starts, and off to freedom. Enjoy it. Become a Hollywood screenwriter. Don't let AI take over all the script writing jobs. But my question to you, if you want to be a realistic, because I've had like authors of novels and stuff reach out to me and my colleagues sometimes saying, hey, I want to write this scene in this thriller. Does a hero, can they do this? What would be realistic? Why did they smash the sprinkler head? What happened? Go ahead.
When you hit the sprinkler head, you're triggering the fire alarm system, which causes the egress points to open because it's a safety hazard if there's an unlabeled exit that you can't leave.
Excellent answer if you didn't hear it. You're triggering the egress. So yes, if you didn't hear that, they wanted the fire suppression system to go off to trigger immediate risk of life egress. So now the flip question, you knew that one, I'm going to see if anyone else knows. Why didn't they hit a pull station? Or why didn't they light a lighter under a smoke detector or heat detector? I saw a hand somewhere here. Yes?
Because then they know where it is.
Maybe they could localize it, right? Maybe you're saying, oh, that's an interesting point. The other point is that if this is, in fact, an institutional grade environment, in an institutional controlled egress environment, a pull station does not unlock doors. A smoke detector does not unlock doors. You have to have multiple smoke detectors going off. In an institutional environment where you're literally restricting freedom of movement, you are allowed to violate some life safety code, but the discharge of an overhead sprinkler head, that's going to be only supposed to ever happen if there's a real problem, like an actual fire, or our movie protagonists, smashing one of them in a closet. So this is how my brain works. I do physical security things. I am a safe technician, I'm a lock technician, I am a consultant about just showing people how to break into places.
Proper, sergeant.
This is a water pumping station for a city, and I'm just showing the site administrator. Like this little tool, if you've never seen the traveler hook, I'm in there with an $8 hook. I show all the time, both private individuals and government types, and a lot of first responders we train for what they will call graceful entry or non-destructive entry, welfare checks. This is a gated community, and I'm just popping open the access control cabinet because it's a super well-known key that I have in my pocket. And I'm flipping the state of the relays to trigger the gate. So yeah, teaching this to firefighters, teaching this to EMS and first responders, I love this kind of stuff. It gives them a way to get in without breaking things. Here we have a locked building. This is a commercial property. This is using a J tool or a thumb turn flipper. Anytime you see a locked door in a publicly accessible structure, like a building that could be locked from the inside, you have to give people inside a way to get out. There's going to be a thumb turn on the inside of any sort of flipping, turning lock. This is fire code. This is life safety code. Just like door handles. How many of you know what an under-door tool is, right? For those who don't, we're going to trip this door by hitting the inside handle with just a long rod and a string. And I can do this, and I know the inside handle is going to work this way, and no matter how electronically controlled this door is, I know I can pop it open because life safety code, modern ADA code, fire code, NFPA, I codes, they all specify the type of handle hardware you can have. They specify how that door will open. They specify the poundage of pressure and the inch-pounds of torque that door handles will operate on. So I know my tool is going to grab it and work. Fire codes help me break in. They also help me if I'm inside a structure and I have to explain myself. So part of my job is interfacing with guards and staff and other people who don't necessarily know who I am. Like, I don't recognize you. What are you doing in here? I've had this is an employee literally calling his supervisor because I was in this building on a Sunday and I said, oh, I'm here from the Wyoming office. And he wasn't buying it at the time. But we have to come up with stories to say, why are you there? And if I had had a different story, maybe, and this guy, he was not backing down. I love telling the story of this company. This man had been there like 40 years at this company. He knew everyone. We were not getting around him. But maybe if I said I worked there, maybe I should have said, no, I actually work for Siemens, or I work for your local fire company. Having a reason to be there, having a reason that you kind of just blend in and look like you belong there, that's good stuff. And those of you who do this kind of physical entry and on-site work, I'm going to give you a lot of knowledge to make you sound like you can belong there in these kind of mundane, everyday service technician calls. So again, like if you get challenged by an employee, you're like, hey, can I help you? Why are you in this building? I'm like, oh yeah, so I have to get in here, I have to check the logs, I have to check your fire system has a racked server, I swear it does. Let me in there, we can go do that. So yeah, fire codes afford us a really good fake persona to be in a lot of structures. You can kind of go the blue-collar route, or you can go the sort of polo-shirted technician. Like, obviously, my hat matches my polo shirt. I completely am authorized to be here. What's wrong with you? So what am I doing a lot of the time, right? This gets into what's called NFPA fire code. So NFPA, National Fire Protection Association. We keep the fire safe. So if you've ever seen the hazard diamond, like on trucks on the highway, this is all NFPA. If you wonder what the symbols mean and how many woolongs this cargo is worth, my friends Brian and Jason, they did a video about this on their channel. Learning about NFPA stuff, again, it's dry. They put out tons of guides and manuals. They publish a lot of guidance and code. The big ones that we're going to talk about are going to be 80 and 101, life safety and fire doors. But basically, there's also the I codes, the international building codes, the international fire codes. People sometimes talk about I codes. Same thing here. These are standards that buildings have to conform to. And you're talking about huge fines if there's violations of how the building is designed and built. It can be dry and boring, but I think it's really fun. It's cool if you're on the blue team side and you want to protect your facilities from violations that are really costly. And if you're on the red team side, knowing this and being able to talk like you kind of act like you know what you're doing, talk like you know what you're doing, you can really, really make devastating impact and people will just leave you alone. Depending on how spicy you want to get it. I've bored guards in the past, just talking about, like, oh yeah, this code here, the violation of this door. You see how this isn't swinging freely? Wait, come back, where are you going? I was going to tell you about this. So let's talk about fires, and specifically not dying in them. Because people used to a lot. Like nowadays, we have like fire drills in school, and we have sprinklers over our heads. Fires used to be horrendous. It was unconscionable how many people we let go up like kindling. One of the biggest movers of the needle in the public discussion was the Iroquois Theater fire. This is a very famous incident, right around the turn of the century, 1903. So in minutes, it's wild. It's not like this was the first theater that went up in flames. It happened so much that the bill for this play talked about how fireproof the theater was, right? And they did everything wrong. There were not enough fire extinguishers. The people who were there didn't know how to use them. There was a fire curtain that didn't work because people didn't know how to use it. The ventilation hardware didn't work to prevent the smoke and flame. There was a fire exit that didn't fell apart. There were doors that were locked from the outside. You have these little door stops out here, the foot bolts. Because this was an era when people were like not trusted by the ruling class to ever have any privileges. They didn't want patrons going to other seats. So they had all the doors and windows locked. They had these weird bascule locks that people couldn't figure out how to operate. So what happened when a theater lamp caught on fire and lit a curtain? In minutes, the whole place was toast. And hundreds of people all freaking died in like one night. This is a school. This is the Lakeview school fire, right? Again, 1908. School burned down. Half the children of the entire effing school died. There were 2 exits, one of which narrowed as it exit egress, like the hallway got narrowed, which you can't do, by the way, by fire code. Your path of egress has to never narrow or bottleneck because people will stack up on each other. This is before any of that existed. Where's all my labor history folk? Where are my anarchist bomb throwers, right? Which building is this?
Triangle.
Yes, it is. Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire. Absolutely. 1911. We have a couple hundred people, mostly young, mostly immigrant women, all died. Because the fire was too high up. We couldn't actually get firefighting equipment up that high. The fire escape was a rusty piece of shit that fell apart immediately. And again, like, don't scab for the bosses. They don't care about you. The bosses locked all the doors to prevent people from taking breaks. So they were locked in this building, and it horrified the public. This was an era. In fact, some of the fire hardware that exists now comes from people of this era who almost died. Like Carl Prinzler had tickets that night to the Iroquois Theater to see Mr. Bluebeard, and he just didn't go. And he was like, holy crap, I could have been smoking ash. So that's where we get the origins of panic egress hardware, is right around this time in history. By the way, if you've ever heard of the Von Duprin company, Von Duprin 99, door hardware, they're part of Allegion now, who owns Schlage. But Von Duprin, if you ever wondered, it's the dude's names. That's where the name comes from. There you go. But this was a time when they're like, look, people are dying. This is awful. We need to have hardware where you can literally be drunken off balance and fall on the door. The door will open anyway. We need to have doors that are secure on the outside but release quickly on the inside. So we have this confluence of public outrage and innovation in the hardware space, and that's what drives all of this adoption of new fire safety standards that have been, like, if you didn't live in that era, you have no idea how bad it could have been. And we are really fortunate to have all of these like systems that protect us in buildings today. I remember like being a little kid, you like the fire drills at school, and you're like, oh, it's kind of getting out of class. But this is a product of a lot of suffering that happened and a lot of really hard work and ingenuity that makes it so that our lives today are much, much better. So fire safety is really, really serious business in structures today. And we're going to talk about it in 3 main topic areas. And I want to make you briefed as much as you can be in an hour or so tonight. And you'll be able to like talk your way around guards or bore people at cocktail parties or impress people like hackers by knowing this arcane stuff. So nowadays, we have fire suppression systems. They are over your heads right now, and in many places you have been. We have rules about how egress works. This includes the egress path, the door hardware, etc. And the way our whole buildings are designed and constructed are resistant to fire in many ways that just we didn't have in the past. So here's how to sound like you know about all of those topics and more. All right, is this going to be fun? Are you like bored already, or are you enjoying this? All right. Let's talk about sprinkler systems. Let's talk about fire sprinklers. Right, exactly. Hot topic. Yeah. Right on. So exciting. Sprinkler systems. I'm going to say you've all seen a sprinkler head before. These have... Yes, there's one right there. There's 2 of them. 2 little cats. Yes. So these have been relatively unchanged for 100 years. There were firefighting like sprinkler systems in the past, way in like the 1800s. They were mostly like just dry pipe that had holes in it, like you would water a garden with a weeper hose. And as you can imagine, this involves being like, oh man, there's a fire, send Bobby outside and turn the valves. So they weren't automatic. That's not going to always work. They eventually started trying fun things. In fact, Hiram Maxim, who made the Maxim gun, who are my firearm people, right? Hiram Maxim had an idea for a system that would actually have solder in those holes. So you could flood the pipe, but then it would only discharge if the solder melted, which is a very neat idea. Unfortunately, no, I'm sorry, Hiram Maxim had the carbonic acid production with a heat sensor that would melt. It was Parmalee, Henry Parmalee, that had the little solder plugs. The problem with the Parmalee system was that you've got water in the pipe, like that's a huge heat sink. So it takes a lot of heat for the solder to melt. The system we have today, everything we have today stems from just right around the turn of the century, just prior to Grinnell. So it's Grinnell's system. This is the Grinnell sprinkler head where the water is in the pipe most of the time. There's dry pipe systems as well, but you have all this water ready to go, and then your fusible link, your heat-sensitive link, is a tiny glass bulb that'll burst because the fluid in there is super, it'll pressure change, it'll dynamically change with heat. And that bulb is backed up by a tiny membrane cup. So the water is never actually touching the fusible link. This is able to get hot very quickly in a fire. And if you expose these to fire, if you ever watch Slow-Mo Guys on YouTube, very fun channel, you can see just skadoosh, the water will flood right out the moment that little glass shatters. We have not changed this design in ages. The Grinnell heads, they're good for 95 years, I think is what they're rated for on installs. So yeah, you put a building up, you put them in, and you never have to think about it. Dig it. What do we got?
Sazerac without the capsule.
All right, I dig it. Thank you. Sazerac it up. So yeah, the little glass bulb breaks, the water comes flooding out. Hopefully nobody dies, except maybe a bunch of your computers. That's why you can have a dry pipe or a pre-action system, which is a different kind of system. Again, I'll get way in the weeds, but yes. You've probably seen some of the hardware related to sprinkler systems if you've been in back stairways or back of house areas in buildings, right? So if you've ever been in a back stairwell, you'll see valves and main assembly systems like this. If you want to know what all this stuff is, let's diagram it out a little bit. So this is a kind of a very classic looking standpipe system. Here we have gauges. You'll usually see gauges. These gauges show 0 in this diagram, but if there was actually pressure in the system, they would have some pressure they would be showing. You have a huge gate valve over here. You can actually section off, turn on and off certain sections. Don't screw around with that if you're not authorized to. Not only will you be turning off like the suppression in some wings of a building, you will set off alarms. Screwing around, most of these systems have sensors all over them. And if you're doing actual inspections and testing, you have to have somebody there at the FACP, the fire alarm annunciator panel, just like controlling and silencing those alarms because people are changing valves and dumping pressure. All these kind of changes in the system should be connected to sensors. But the one that we talked about in our Hollywood plot, if water starts flowing through this system, there's a check valve here. When that check valve pops, you'll actually divert water out to this side channel, and again, you've got a sensor here that'll trigger the, hey, oh my God, why is a lot of water flowing through the pipes right now? Something's really wrong, error condition. It's a little bit hard to see here. What you would have a standpipe or a large water reserve somewhere else, and the water here is actually flowing up to get to the overhead sprinklers to discharge. So when that water starts flowing up, check valve pops. This is a little isolator, sort of regulator chamber, so that changes in water pressure don't just cause the sensor to immediately trip. But yeah, if this sensor starts reading, hey, wow, pressure's changing, 20, 30 seconds, 90 seconds is the permissible maximum, that will set off all the alarms. It'll set off a building alert saying, water is discharging. This is the worst possible condition. Get everyone out now. And in many environments, that will unlock all doors. All access control system just unlocks. So yes, discharge from a sprinkler head would normally get everyone in the building in and out of any door they want to. I am not recommending that you do the Hollywood thing to break into a building, but you could break out. Question, yeah?
Yes. So, would all the other ones go off?
Ah, good. You mean when the other ones go off, meaning would they discharge? Yeah. Typically, no. So there have been some systems where that fusible link, which is usually glass, they have a metal system that I've never seen it in use. The idea of if there's like a pressure drop, could the little membrane cups fall out? Typically, no. Someone on the internet, please correct me if I'm going to be wrong about that. Now, that's assuming you have a wet pipe system. If you have a high hazard environment, you might have a deluge system where there is no membrane, there's no cup, that they're just open. All the valves are open, and if any trigger goes off, water floods the pipes, and it's just a Hollywood rain set. Like they're shooting that music video. Who was that guy who did the Beyonce song in the rain? It was very hot. Yes, exactly. It's like that. Yes.
So you're saying the scenes in the Hacker movie is complete bullshit?
The scene in movie Hackers, I'm so sorry to say, is not true. Unless they had a discharge, or maybe even you could do it kind of with a pre-action system. But in general, probably not. Yes, question?
If water main drops, will that still trigger that?
Excellent question. if the water company cuts off the water and the pressure in the water main drops, most of these systems, especially wet pipe systems, are powered by a standpipe. So they have water ready to go. In a dry pipe system, which you'd have in an environment where freezing is a concern, parking garage, for example, would that cause discharge? No. I'm trying to think of a situation where... Right. Right. Will it trip the pressure alarm? Typically, I'm going to say typically no, because without the check valve moving, it shouldn't, that little circuit of pipe should be relatively isolated, I think. Question here.
What are the basics of a pre-action?
So here's like the acronym, and I'll talk about this later too. Wet pipe, you put that in when you care about cost, because they're the cheapest thing that just everyone uses, they work all the time. Dry pipe, you care about freezing, because you don't want the pipes to burst. Pre-action, you care about damage, because you have a data center or a bunch of computers. Even if one of those sprinkler heads pops, there has to be another sensor that trips, I believe, to flood the pipe. You're trying to prevent a danger condition. And you have deluge, we'll talk about, oh God, yeah, non-aqueous, yeah. Go ahead. There were hands there and then there, yes.
Is the water company even legally allowed to turn off the water to this subsystem?
Yes.
Oh, amazing. Is the water company allowed to turn off the water? I think the water company can do whatever the frig they want. Now, how quickly they can do that, it's kind of like, hey, 123 Main Street's using a lot of water. They ain't paid their bill. Go turn that off. That's not going to happen in an instant.
Answer for that?
Could a derelict building maybe have no water? Absolutely. If it's a non-occupancy, no certificate of occupancy structure, yeah.
Is there different regulations on like if a building has like people living in it on how fast, like if it has to be
Oh,
a
yeah.
pipe system or if it's like nobody
Oh,
there?
so yeah, Squeak's asking, what if people live there or only work there? We're going to get all into occupancy types, absolutely. Someone had been waiting for a minute with a question, maybe it was you. Okay.
So we talk about how like smoke sensors and fire alarms trigger the system, but they don't trigger egress. Breaking this triggers egress. Are there any other suppressant systems, to your knowledge, that trigger egress?
So are there any other suppression systems that trigger egress like this?
Oxygen depression systems?
So, and they, you're going to be talking about Halon, the Montreal Protocol. We don't use Halon anymore. The Montreal Protocol mostly has phased it out. It's all FM200 now.
Hey, Editing Dave here. When someone in the audience, I think it was Lisa actually, mentioned Halon, you kind of hear me reply like, oh, it's not really Halon anymore. We use FM200 now. That was in the context of, civilian structures. The question was about data centers we were talking in the moment. Halon 1301, Halon 1211, they are generally banned for new production by the Montreal Protocol for its environmental impacts and hazards, but Halon is still used. Clean agent, as it is called, those systems are still used in some special purposes. The military uses them in their vehicles. Aviation uses Halon. These are situations where you don't want to obviously squirt water all over the interior compartment of a tank or an aircraft, and you don't want to have a bunch of dry powder blowing all over everybody when you're trying to operate a dangerous vehicle. So yes, we still do use Halon, and even now FM200. I mean, the newer systems, they're still halogenated fluorocarbon agents basically, but the portable fire extinguishers that you will find on aircraft, they are filled still with Halon these days, and many times they're Halon that's reclaimed from old civilian systems, data centers, and the like that are being decommissioned. So the more you know.
Do I sound like I'm knowledgeable yet, and do you sound like you're knowledgeable? So I'm going to talk about non-aqueous just for like one slide. I threw it in there, and I know that you mentioned it too. So all right, I'll talk about it right now. If you've ever seen in like movies, someone will like, oh, the Halon system, get out now. Oh, we're going to die. Put on the gas mask, says the Terminator. Very old reference. That was a movie in the 90s, kids. No, so basically gaseous fire suppression. If you've ever heard the term Halon, and everyone says Halon, even though we don't use Halon anymore, it's gaseous-based fire suppression. And it doesn't technically work by taking the oxygen out of the room. I mean, Halon's not great. None of these are great to like breathe. I wouldn't pump it into your kid's crib. But like between 6 and 9% atmospheric concentration will put out fire, because it's so you can walk around a room. I've seen tests of these systems where it's just a bunch of people in a room and they're like, all right, set it off, hit the button. You can be in the room, you can just be hanging out. The way fire works at a chemical level, again, we're getting into the weeds, but like, hey, we're having a good time. So fire, basically, the heat of the fire rips apart molecules. You're getting free radicals that bond with other free radicals, and they rip apart more molecules, and fire sustains itself. These suppressant systems are mostly, they will flood the room with complementary free radicals, and at a molecular level, they prevent fire from being fire. It is the most badass shit you've ever seen. You can trigger a system, and during a very popular thing to do during a test is someone will take out a book of matches, and they'll be like, all right, we're going to try it. And they'll go, phew. The match will light, and it'll just go out. And light, and it'll just go out. Because fire can't be. Science is fucking dope. Yeah. I love it. I love it. I love all this stuff. I love talking about this. If you want to sound, oh yeah, question, go ahead.
Can you touch on a little bit, like doors that will lock shut in case of a fire? Like
Yeah. We're absolutely going to talk about that. It's section 3 of this talk. Yes. Question here? All right. Yeah, same question. I got a hand in the back. Oh, you're waiting for a while, yeah.
So from a or can I still protect the room?
Really cool question. So, yeah, could you still protect a given room, even in the case of like a fire discharge or like, oh my God, the backnet has sent the signal out, and oh man, talk to your local code. I would say talk to Lori Greene is who I would say. And I'll talk about Lori later. She's amazing. I am not aware of outside of government. Like you have to have some serious wasta and some pull with your local code authority, and you talk to the AHJ, the authority having jurisdiction, and you say, we want to have a variance that breaks, whether you're applied NFPA or iCodes for that building, we want to have a variance that allows us to break code for this and that reason. Even in government spaces where I've done a lot of break-ins, you don't tend to see, like fire code is paramount, like life safety trumps all. We'll see some quotes about that in the code. Just quick diagrams, again, like all my slides, they wind up online, all the notes are gonna be online. You can download this if you wanna sound knowledgeable later. But being able to, there's a pendant, these are all pendant styles, there might be a sidewall back there. The fun ones.
That's for hanging clothes on, right?
Yeah, it's for hanging clothes. That's why they get the little hanger, right? They get a little sticker, perfect. The real fun ones are concealed. These are becoming a lot more popular. These are regular Grinnell fireheads, whenever you see these, or when you see, this is a sidewall firehead right here. The way they work, these covers, they have teeny fusible links, little basically solder dots, and this escutcheon will be like in the wall. The fusible links will drop off in the event of heat. They're even rated for different temperatures. You can see this is a standard ordinary. This is a 135 degree. So yeah, they're just regular fireheads. Sometimes the little spreader, essentially the diverter, the deflector, is on these little bars. It's almost like a collapsing like shoulder stock. Like it's these two little bars that drop out and pop out. But yeah, these are all regular fireheads, and they work the same way. Here's another 135. Question, yeah?
What happens if you turn off the gravity?
But like, what's stopping you from coming in, placing a small charge on one of these systems, putting the cover back on, and then using it for egress at a later date?
Oh my God, could you imagine having a little like device tucked in there, and with your like cell phone detonator, like this was an Ocean's 11, so you'd like, bam.
Like a tiny charge that
Right. That would just man. Another free one for the screenwriters. I'll get to you after I get to you, right here. Was it? Oh, it was behind you there. There you go.
Yes, so does that pop off at a lower temperature than the glass breaks, or is it going to be the
Excellent question. Does this pop at a lower temperature? Well, we can't see the color of bulb, but the color of bulb would tell us what temperature it popped at. Yes. Yes. And we will get this out of the way right now. I am as annoyed as the rest of you that this doesn't follow the correct order of the rainbow. God damn it. Hate it. Hate it so much. Yes.
When hotels leave the little orange caps on, does that mean it's an extra safe sprinkler head?
That's not supposed to be there. So, good question. Very good question. When hotels have the little orange caps on, does that make it extra safe? I'm 90% sure, and I've seen them, I'm 90% sure those are for painting and installation and maintenance. I see them much more often on smoke detectors than I see them on sprinkler systems. I may have seen one or two on a sprinkler. My bet is that they're really thin, cheap plastic. So they're going to fail and melt long before the fusible link would. But if you see them, tweet photos at, or not tweet, no one's on Twitter anymore, it's a bunch of Nazis. But like Instagram photos at me or something, and I will like laugh at them with you.
What color is this room?
Oh, this room's going to be all orange and red. So almost every structure you're ever going to be in is going to be an ordinary structure. Intermediate, you'll see those in higher risk environments, high hazard environments, chemical storage areas, boiler rooms. So like as you start to get way up there, like flammable storage, because you're just like, wow, it's so dangerous. Well, yeah, because if there's a fire, you might be able to put it out for a second before the whole system goes. So if you're in so industrial ovens and stuff, they need fire suppression. They literally have black. Like black is a sense called ultra extra high or very extra high. And they go all the way up to 600 degrees. It's insane. So like you'd be in a giant industrial oven cooking silicon, and you're like, oh, they're sprinkler heads. How are they not going off? They might have purple or black bulbs in them. Was there a question here? Yeah.
Do you know anything about the chemistry in the vial?
Oh, I'd love to know. So the question was, Sai asked, what's the chemistry inside of those? Do I have it in my notes? I do not have it in my notes. I don't know the chemistry of what's inside there. Internet is free. I mean, I wish, that's not a joke. I mean, I wish I'd looked it up because that's the kind of dumb, crazy crap. I love knowing about this. If you want to know much more, like this, it would be in NFPA 25, I bet it, because that's all of this is covered in 25. So everything you want to know about how you sound smart, things to say, how the annual testing works, how you what to do. If you really care about this, dig into 25. The general vibe. Inspections and servicing is usually a two-person crew. You could show up alone and the building's not going to really know. Usually a two-person team. If you're not doing actual tests, you can just say, oh, I'm doing a site survey, a preliminary survey of your facilities. Maybe you can use that as an excuse. Walking around, there's basically 4 kinds of inspections you could say you're doing. And this is from my sprinkler guy. I was like, give me some notes. What do you say when you get on site? He's like, all right, well, you can do your annual tests. That's where you go into the flow control rooms. You can do detector tests. If you ever want to know if a smoke detector is working, they make spray. It's like this little particle spray that you can use. I've tried it in loads of apartments that I've moved into. None have ever worked correctly.
It's on Amazon. You can get it.
Yeah, it's on Amazon. You can do fire extinguishers. So NFPA 10 covers extinguishers. So you could walk around, I'm checking the pressures and checking your extinguisher tags. Or you can do twice annual, you have to inspect special hazards. So again, special hazards, special environments, you're breaking in there. Hopefully your point of contact is briefing you on what stuff you're not supposed to touch in there. I'm going to go 1 and 2. Yeah?
Are there any specific timeframes or ranges at which annual tests are usually?
Oh, like what time frames? Business hours, if that's what you mean, but like...
Also, in the year. So if you show up for an annual test, we just had it yesterday. We just had you guys come in.
Oh, we'll get to that. Oh yeah, so someone's like, no, we just had our annual test. You're not the regular milkman. That's a James Bond reference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do you think I'm back so soon?
So, I mean, a lot of places, you can literally say, oh, the guy, I got one for you. You know what? I literally showed up once, and I said, yeah, I'm here from Universal Fire, because we had scoped out their building for a couple months, and we knew who their service was. And I said, yeah, I'm here from Universal Fire. You had a crew here pretty recently, and they might not have, I don't know if they did or not, but I said, you had a crew here pretty recently, but there's one problem. And ultimately, I concocted a story where I said, one of the guys wrote up, intermediate bulb, green bulb. And I said, apparently, we talked to this guy, he said there was a green bulb in one of your sprinkler heads, but he didn't freaking tell me where. And no one knows, and I have to walk through your whole building right now trying to find this one bulb. Can you issue me a badge? And I was just kind of looking around for green bulbs and plugging shit in. You had a question, yeah.
So if you do your smoke detector test,
Yeah.
does that trigger the same kind of egress?
Does it trigger the same? In 90% of environments, it will. Any smoke detector would trigger a system-wide alarm. Smoke detectors will trigger the alarm. In anything except an institutional grade environment, all doors should unlock if they're controlled. In that zone, because you might have a huge campus where there's fire zones. But yes, it will trigger the alarm. You'll have to get somebody to go to the FACP and silence it. Those are all key to by the way. You can go to hooligankeys.com. They sell all the keys for those. But yeah, this is a great excuse for just if you encounter if you ever encounter a control panel that has a pin, what do you think the pins are that you try for everything? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Try that, and I'm turning off alarms. Don't do that if something's actually on fire. Yeah, asking to be let into the riser room is a great reason to interact with building maintenance or building security. Say you're looking around for that room is a good reason if somebody's like, hey, what are you doing in this hallway? You're like, I'm looking for the riser room. Where is your fire riser? And they're not going to know. They're a data center employee or something. Yeah, question.
So what's the exit strategy if someone else is also?
Oh man, if someone else is literally already there, you'd be like, son of a bitch, they pulled me off of Main Street. I came all the way through traffic. I hate working here. And just get out of there really fast.
What's a diesel engine fire pump controller?
Ooh, why is there a diesel engine? This is not to put out the diesel engine fire. So yeah, this is why you don't touch stuff in the riser room, right? So this, in addition to your standpipes, we've got a jockey pump for extra additional pressure. So you'll often see backup diesel-powered pumps to put more pressure in the system if the standpipes discharge.
Diesel power, that's pretty fucking serious.
It is, yes. Fire suppression is serious business. Question.
So the company I work for would be very bad if these people were to escape.
You have an institutional environment, yep.
What is the protocol for this kind of situation where you don't have firebox or electric strikes on the doors?
What is the protocol? The question is,
You don't want them to die, but you also don't want them
yes.
to
Let's say, for example, I do not know about this man's work, but like a prison, maybe?
So yes, so we're talking about institutional environments where people do not have full agency over their freedom of movement. That includes corrections. It also includes a lot of assisted living. It includes a lot of medical and elder care. All of these environments, the code speaks to that. In any environments where the doors do not automatically unlock, all staff assigned to that area must carry with them a means to open those doors. That is usually the code, unless they got a variance. So yeah, more standpipes and things. Let's say, you can say, oh, we're trying to identify the main drain. That's another good excuse. These systems do have to drain out for occasional servicing and testing. Identifying the discharge is a good reason to be around a building. Before you do a drain out test, you have to find where it's going. Like, this discharge is dumping on a bunch of power cables. Maybe you don't want that. Maybe it's dumping out in the front of the entrance, and you're like, wow, your customers are going to get flooded with water. These are things that you would normally do if you were conducting a test or preliminary inspection before a test. This is a reason to be right up against a building and like walking around inside of their perimeter, inside of their hedge line. This is a weird one. This is a main drain inside of a closet. It hasn't been piped for discharge. This probably doesn't comply with 13R anymore. It's probably why they're red tagged. I don't actually know.
What's the main drain for then?
It's for emptying the standpipes, which you will do during certain maintenance and testing phases. I saw two hands. I don't know who had it first.
I was going to ask why.
Yeah. Yep, it's for maintenance and service.
But would there be any concern with mold or other buildup?
Really good question. Is there concern with mold or other buildup? Well, if you've ever seen, I have a photo from a parking garage of the main drains, and there's running rust all over the floors and walls. Because yeah, those pipes will build up a ton of standing water, but eventually, they can only rust so much. It's a closed system. You're not going to continue oxidizing without a lot of oxygen in there. But yeah, they're cruddy. The water coming, you don't want to drink that. Hand next to you.
So this is kind of unrelated, but have you ever been recognized while on a penetration testing?
Have I ever been recognized on a pen testing agreement, an engagement? No, but I have been recognized when my wife Tara and I were going somewhere, and she was presenting at a big tech company. And she was like, all right, I'm going to go get set up and plug in. And I was just in the break room, just waiting for, she's like, all right, I'm going to go sit with one of their free, zero vitamin waters. And some employees came through and they were like, are you breaking in right now? And I was like, no. And they're like, that's what you would say.
Were you breaking in right then?
I was not breaking in. I saw a hand there and I might be missing somebody over here. Yeah, shout it out. Oh, emergency power offs. That's a fascinating question. Would there ever be, I'm going to say that's got to be a site-specific question. There's got to be somebody somewhere. I don't know about it in the code. The question is, do any of these systems, when triggered, typically, by the way, if you're not big, and Darrell would know about BACnet, when BACnet triggers, does it ever hit the power outage? Talk to me.
Well, my only experience is when a company power went down.
There you go. There's your answer. So if you didn't hear that, in this system that you've experienced, and you do a lot of industrial break-in work, so I trust you completely. If you don't know this man, learn from this man. He's awesome. But yeah, so in the system he was exposed to, once the dry pipe started to flood, power EPO cut. There was, I think, a hand. I got you. Yeah, what's up?
In the facilities that I've worked as well as
Very cool. So we got 2 points of data. That's confirmation in my book. Works that way. If you're walking around in those hallways, by the way, you may notice there are locks on a lot of these systems, and you're like, why would the fire shit be locked? Yes, there are locks. These are almost always locking those gate valves open. It's to prevent jackholes like y'all when you were rowdy teens from I don't know what you were doing when you were kids, like you were the evil, I don't know. But like, I'm going to turn off the standpipe. First of all, that sensor's going to go if you turn this valve, and it's going to set off an alarm. But it's designed to prevent people from changing the state of the gate valve. It's designed to do that. And again, you'll walk around in enough buildings, you'll see ones that you're like, hey, wait a minute, that's not supposed to be like that. Yes. Again, like, fine, what are you doing in here? Like, what are you doing in here? Because this valve is not right. I'm going to have to red tag you on this one, man. Yeah. Again, these valves you'll see, anytime you see these boxes and enclosures, those are going to be sensors that are wired up. You can walk around outside, look for the department connections, the FDC or fire department connections. There'll be connections and valves outside as well. They'll often always be chained up. This is an indicating valve. It's got a cool little window in there. Indicating valves look like these. Again, locked up. Got a little Siamese connection back there. Yes, it's an outdated term. It's still what they'll call them. So yeah, sound like you belong there, look like you belong there. If you want to look like you belong there, make yourself a little outfit, get yourself a fake persona, learn about things, read the codes. I talked about NFPA 10. This is maybe one of the lowest, easiest bars, right? The handheld extinguishers. They have to be inspected. They're called portable extinguishers, handheld extinguishers, right? So you can walk around, check, do the annual inspection. I'm checking your tags. I'm making sure these are all in the green, right? Signage. Anytime there's a fire extinguisher, there should be signage within 50 feet of that fire extinguisher. It should be visible from 50 feet away. So I have a number of sort of like blue-collar generic outfits that I bought at various, look for thrift stores. Like somebody fire service. I don't know who this is, but I could be in Virginia, where it's from, or I could be in Seattle. I don't know. I'm from the fire company. Who the hell? You don't know who I am. You can look like don't dismiss the polo shirt, right? The technician look. James gets in so many places with the polo shirt, man. The standard procedure, right? If you say you're here from Siemens or Johnson Controls, again, generally, they are not optimal at communicating with customers in advance. So you'll show up. Service folk will just kind of be there and be like, hey, Siemens sent me. I'm here to, and they're like, oh, yeah, they never tell us you're coming. So you'll go to reception. You'll basically say, look, can I speak to the building engineer? Or do you have anyone here from facilities? I'm here from Siemens. They'll be like, oh, yeah, you're from Siemens. Let me get building facilities out there. They'll say, okay, what are you here to do? And you say, I'm here to inspect blah. And they're usually going to be like, all right, do you have a work order or something? If you're from like Siemens, your work order is not from Siemens. It's never branded. It's not even a paper work order. Nowadays, you're Photoshop people. Like, make an app. Be like, no, we use the app now. It's on my iPad. I can't let you touch it. It's a controlled device. Like, yeah. And then they'll be like, all right, like, which keys do you need? Okay, turn them into reception on your way out. If you're in a high hazard environment, you have to get a digital signature before you leave. So, like, put that in your fake app. Yeah, go ahead.
On the topic of like setting up an outfit and looking the right part, one of the things that just came across my mind is, in particular, other pieces of coded wear. What came to mind for me is hard hats.
Oh, yeah.
And in particular, wearing those and different hard hat codes, if you have that in here.
Yes, I don't have it in here, but you mentioned the hard hat. Absolutely. And the idea of, like, is it half brim or full brim? Are they using colors on a job site? Absolutely. Good point. James, like, will clip his hard hat just to his belt just to, like, have it here and then here. Go ahead, Mouse.
Do you ever do we've got a recall, we're checking to see if you have the parts that are recalled.
Ooh, like you got a recalled? We were checking to see. I've never done that personally. Are you saying like, oh, which brand of fire extinguisher do you use? Oh, those have all been recalled. I got to take them with me. I wouldn't do that.
I need to check to see if they're the ones.
I need to check if they're the ones that are recalled. That's not a bad one, maybe. There was a hand somewhere. Yes, go ahead.
Another one that works well is being from an industrial supply company like Fastenal or Granger.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of bolts, and they're like, oh yeah, maintenance is over there.
Yep, maintenance order. I'm from Fastenal. I'm from Granger. Maintenance ordered these things. Yep. I got your lug nuts, Bender the robot. That's a Futurama joke. Almost as old as some other jokes. Obviously, you want to look the part, so you got that clipboard. You go buy it. The first thing you do, you take it out, you like kick it across the parking lot and beat it up and put some stuff all over it. Absolutely. Have your accessories. Like all these companies, they all have their own tags. It's not like they're printing these on a printer in their office. You can order these. Like you can get the green inspection tag, the yellow maintenance tag, non-compliance, the red, totally, like the impairment tag. Don't like, I'm going to red tag you. Like, Better back it up. Better know how to talk the talk, right? But yeah, like these companies, I have a few of these that I've just kind of shoved in my clipboard, and they're jingling and they're off of a chain, and I'm walking around. I kind of look like I belong there because I've got all these little trappings and accessories. And if you want to order, the customer Dana clearly says, the product is good product, exactly as pictured and promptly. Okay, how much more do you need to know? Go ahead and order from this company. If you want to show up in a service vehicle, that's the real baller move, right? Now, you probably don't have a service vehicle unless you want to have a service vehicle. So go ahead to your rental car company when you land on the city where the job facility is. Try to get like a mid-size white pickup. Vistaprint will make you magnetic signs, right? Like, slap those on there. Go to Amazon, put your little orange blinky on the top. Guess what? You're now a service vehicle. Yeah. You don't even have to turn it on. I've had guards like wave me through vehicle checkpoints because I'm like, oh, he's from Siemens with his blinky. Okay. Question and then question. Yeah.
Car rental companies usually provide vehicles that are washed, clean, and polished, and here you are trying to present yourself as somebody who's...
What if you're too clean?
The clean car versus the beaten up,
Yeah.
worn clothes, grungy...
So, yeah, you can you get the full insurance on your rental, and you take it down like a 4x4 trail, or you rent from like, I don't know, Budget or Alamo or somebody. You get a piece of shit. There's a hand back there. Any strategies for dealing with whom?
The guy that insists on accompanying you while you do your inspection.
Oh, if you're getting accompanied. That's the best time. Most of these inspections and service calls have two-person teams. That's the best way. One guy like is accompanying you, and you got your buddy, and they're like, "Oh man, which way was the head? I got to go back there." And then you try to peel off. Hand over here, and then we got to keep moving. I'm going to be here all night. I was not expecting this much engagement. Go ahead.
Did you really deliver them to your mom?
Yeah. Oh, did I really deliver it to your mom? Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Amazon will deliver anywhere, 24 hours. Absolutely. So yeah, there's much more to get into about this. We've talked a little bit about, wet pipe, dry pipe, pre-action deluge. Here's your gaseous systems, right? How many? What's that? Oh yeah, like there's some pixies in them wires. Like if you're in industrial, I should keep reiterating this. You are in industrial spaces. There are things in here that can break or hurt you. Like hot things are hot, sharp things are sharp. If you've ever worked in industrials, everything in an industrial space is either sharp, hot, or dirty. And you're a meat sack with a monkey primitive brain. Like, yes, here, go ahead.
We've talked about tripping fire systems because of these lighter or glue or something, but if we want to trip something like a carbon monoxide sensor,
Ooh, trying to trip a carbon monoxide sensor.
do you have to like bring a bottle of carbon monoxide with you? Or
I've never done that. I want to find out if somebody can what is a chemical reaction that you could MacGyver up in like a little shot glass that'll make CO. What could you do? Burn gasoline, I guess.
Isn't that what the whole baking soda vinegar experience?
What was your statement? I'm sorry.
run a hose from your exhaust pipe.
Yes, run a hose from your exhaust pipe and be like, no, I really actually like working here. I don't have a problem. It's not what you think. Oh my God. Kakalaki Khan. All right, just remember, look, you can't actually like remove other people's tags. You can't red tag. You can't find, if you find a violation, let's say, this is a good one here. I'm going to get to you all too in a second. If you're actually on a pen test and you find a violation, but you've learned you're not trained, you've stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. You learned from my dumbass. What do? You write it up. You write it up in your final report, talk to your point of contact. You let neutral language, let a lot of passive voice do heavy lifting, right? During the time, the field consultants used an underdoor tool to enter the data center. At the time of the test, the standpipe was observed to be badly rusted. This may be a violation of local fire code. Further inspection is merited by qualified personnel. Something like that. Yeah. I saw hands over here. I'm going to go bang, bang.
So you can take a 1-gallon plastic milk jug.
Back to CO. All right, let's go for it.
Cut the bottom off.
Cut the bottom off a milk jug. Are you making like a gravity bomb? What's going on here?
Place it on the ceiling against your carbon monoxide detector.
Uh-huh.
And spray aerosol smoke in the bottom, and you will sometimes get
Interesting. So like aerosol smoke products, if you funnel it up?
I think it
All right. Okay. Kids on the internet, don't try huffing that. All right. There was a hand there. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah. Have you ever shown up and be like, just like bored, like, I don't want to be there? Yeah. So it depends. You can read the room, right? You kind of do it. You're going to get a couple stories. Here's one from my buddy Chris. One time, he had a bet, I think, with one of his teammates that he could break into a building without talking. And he pretended, so you never pretend you're a law enforcement, but you might be, in his case, he was working with court officers. And basically, he had a fake story that said one of the sysadmins was under investigation for fraud. And he basically had like a letter that said, I have to get in, I have to check these records, I have to check these things. This is a court, I'm with the courts where lawyers have sent me. And he kind of like walked up to security. He opened his laptop bag and he went. Until they did something. And they were just like, okay, here's a badge. He's like, they just walked in. Yeah. Was there any other? Oh, God, there's so many hands. Every question creates more questions. All right, we're going to zip it through and then keep going.
Okay, you're waiting. You've gone there. You've done your cover story. All right, can you have a seat and wait? And we'll have the manager come out here a minute.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do while you're waiting? Do you YouTube on your phone?
Oh, yeah. Well, if you're like, we'll have someone come during greeting time. All right, facilities will be along in a minute. What do? Sometimes I'll just, goof around on my phone because that's what I do when I'm getting paid to do most things. Or like go find, like, excuse me, where's your bathroom? Where's your break room? Is it going to be long? Because I'm just going to try. If I can break in before that, then facilities got to come find me. I'll be like, oh, I was out there for like 10 minutes. Susan didn't tell you I was there? Yeah, I really had to use the head. I was over here. Here, I think, and then there. Good question. What is the legality? So that story that we kind of grazed past the gray zone on, what is the legality of saying or letting people think you're with the court system or something? How close does that get? First of all, if you haven't noticed, am very American, and I'm talking about mostly North America. There are other parts of the world and other jurisdictions where who you can and can't say you are may vary wildly. The idea of what is the legality? The answer is, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not sleeping with one. Talk to your lawyer. Definitely talk to your lawyers first. Was there a hand? Yeah.
You're talking about.
So, I've never told an embarrassing or uncomfortable story, but honestly, some of the absolute best pen testers are people that do not have my gender presentation because they can dip to the restroom and they can't be accompanied. Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of dipping out through egresses, let's talk about egress rules. Part two. We're getting, how are we doing on time? Holy crap, we're an hour in. We're only 1 out of 3, but we're getting there. And this one's not super long as a section. It's interesting. All right. Are we still okay? We're still doing good? All right. All right. Quick one for you. You be the AHJ. You be the authority having jurisdiction. Is this a problem? I just included this recently in a video that I threw online, and I asked Lori about this too. She hasn't written to me back yet. We'll see. So this is a medical building in Connecticut. My friend Bowski shot me this photo and these videos. It's an odd building where the parking lot is up, so the second story is the main story. There is a lower story down to this street, and it results in this following situation. If you're at the main lobby and you're done your medical appointment and you want to leave, you sometimes, and there is no sound, don't worry, you're not capturing sound here. Well, I could leave, but there's this, all right, there's the exit. But is there actually the exit? Or is there not an exit? What the hell? I don't know, it looks kind of exit-like, but it's just telling me everything about this is saying don't go here. But if, let's say you're bold, just say you do want to go there. So Bowski's walking down the stairs. We're seeing a lot more confirmation that this is supposed to be an exit. The elevator that discharges down here definitely seems to be, this is a signposted marked exit. Now, there's a bunch of crap in the discharge zone, which is not supposed to happen. But what the hell is this? What is going on here? The question, is this a violation? I am 90% sure it is. Because in an environment where people could be in an emergency, like they're panicked, they don't know what's wrong, maybe there's actually smoke in the building, anything ambiguous like this is not good. Go ahead.
Does that mean that my decorative exit sign I have in my office is a potential hazard?
Oh crap, decorative exit, super not allowed. Super not allowed. Yeah. That is in the code, my friend. So yeah, and like whoever, like if you like Men in Black, right? Someone's like Will Smith's character, he says, why not tell people about the aliens and the overlords? Like people are smart. And Tommy Lee Jones, what does he say? He's, no, a person is smart. People are dumb, panicky animals, and you know it. Yes. In duress, under emergency conditions, humans will not think clearly. They will look for the most barrier-free path. They will what's called search for social confirmation. They will look for what everyone else is doing. They will look for any signs that confirm I'm in the right place, I am okay, this is where I'm supposed to go. Absent any of those indicators, people will often repeat patterns that they already know. So if they always walk the long way to the break room into their car to get that one last free soda, people will like do that instead of going to the right exit. So signage is really, really important. Breaking people out of their familiar patterns, getting them out of the building is important. Yes?
I've heard like fluid dynamics simulates people more in emergencies.
Yeah, so the idea of fluid dynamics of crowds, absolutely. It's really, really fascinating. And when we talk about egress from a building, we're not just talking about the door. Like, yes, there is an exit stairwell here. This is an exit path, but you have to access it. And then I mentioned all that bulk, like the brush that was in the way, like the discharge. This is all part of the code that people have to follow. There was a hand somewhere, yeah.
Pet peeve of mine, when you see the message roof access.
Roof access.
That is instruction for firefighters, not for the average public.
Yes. Seeing if you're in a back stair and this stairwell says no roof access or roof access, that's not information for you.
They aren't sending helicopters, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is what we would hope to see, by the way, like signage very unambiguously saying, this is the exit, this is not an exit. I think that building, what they probably had going on, and I'm going to see if Lori agrees with me, I think because of that weird level structure, they probably had people using the stairs going outside and be like, oh crap, my car, I'm nowhere near my car, and like complaining, and they were trying to control the flow of people. That could be solved with signage that said emergency exit only. Like that's completely understandable, and they could have just bought a different sign. Illumination, you have to have illumination, saying that you're there to do the illumination checks and tests, testing the batteries, another good reason to be in back stairwells. There should be signaling devices. The code speaks to like how the structure can be. You literally can't have, you can't have like ducking down to get out. Unobstructed path, unobstructed discharge zones. I know you've been outside of buildings, you're like, oh man, what kind of a jerk would put a bunch of boxes in front of these doors? People put shit all the time in fire exits. Literally, Emmy and I were like in a hotel, and we're walking to the floor. I'm like, holy crap, that is really freaking bad. And there was a big party going on in the hotel at the time, which is exactly the kind of thing that leads to those stories where like, oh my God, how did this disaster happen? Well, it's because they wanted a dance floor in this bar, and they took all the furniture and they threw it in the freaking hallway. So like, this is super no-no. Even this. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you ever get so, oh my God, how could this be? Did you call the local fire marshal and send them a...
Excellent point. Excellent point. The question is, do I ever call the authorities? And so I will, first of all, you never call the police. I won't call the police if I'm stabbed. But like, right. I have absolutely called the local AHJ, and I've sent like photos occasionally. And then I've been back in other buildings, and like stuff's not the same magically somehow. So that's happened. Go ahead.
So in theory, if you really didn't like a company and you knew the inspection was coming up, can you put a bunch of stuff in front of their emergency exits, and would you get in trouble for that if they found out?
So this is wow. This is quite the anonymous ops question. All right, Chuck Palahniuk with Project Mayhem over here. Could you put a bunch of stuff in the fire exit and egress pass and then call and report a company? Nowadays, I would say nowadays there's cameras everywhere, and you're probably going to get popped for that. So I would advise not doing it unless you get all blocked up and like put your mask on, then put a bunch of stuff in Raytheon's hallways. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not into fire stuff, but as a pen tester, what do you do in cases that there are a lot of cameras around?
So cameras are always used for reconstruction. Nobody's monitoring the cameras. Ever. Like, I mean, this is not a hard and fast rule, but like, yeah, I've been on jobs where I'm just like waving in front of cameras. I took a whiteboard off a wall once and I wrote in giant letters, "I'm breaking in," and I put it on a chair in front of the camera, like at the data center door. Nothing ever happens. Yeah, the official code, the official language in the iCodes is anything under the, like storage under the stairs is called out by code as a violation. Stairwells, exit stairs cannot be used for any other purpose. You can't hang out in there and vape or whatever. This is a fun one. Exits have to be unambiguous. They can't be like confusing. You can't decorate an exit. You can't paint it to blend in with its surroundings. These are, again, this is all Lori Greene, her blog. Like, these are murals. That's a friggin' exit. Look, the touch bars are here in the bumper, but like, that's an exit. That's not okay. It's gorgeous artwork. I love it. Good job, team, but you can't do that. You also can't have mirrors. Mirrors can reflect light in weird ways. Can't have mirrors on the exit doors. That's a weird, odd code thing. I've seen it once in like a supermarket where people were banging into each other, I guess, on a tight corner, and somebody put a mirror on the door. Can't do that. You have to have continuous inspection, right? It's not a bad cover story. We're verifying safe operation of your emergency exits. The emergency lighting is often tested by the same fire alarm testers who come out there. You press the square push button, you test it. Make sure, if you have a voltage tester, you can test the voltage in the battery. You don't need the official voltage. Like, you have a fluke multimeter on your hip. You're like, oh, we're testing the voltage in your batteries. You're two guys in matching polos. One of you is on a ladder. Like, they must be working here, I'm sure. But yeah, the code speaks to all of this. And again, all these notes are going to be online, right? The idea of operable force. When people watch us do double door tool slip attacks and under door tool attacks, like, oh my God, how could you get that handle? The operating part, the unlatching part. The door might be heavier than hell. Fire doors are really heavy when they're insulated doors. The unlatching action has to occur with very, very light pressure. I actually have a little pressure testing gauge that I can push on a door and monitor how much pressure that handle or that touch bar took to operate. Yeah, question?
If the unlatching is so light, but the door is so heavy, isn't that redundant to like ADA or any sort of egress for the...
Very good question. So if the unlatching force is so light, but the door is heavy, the door is still limited. Interior doors, 5 pounds of pressure to operate the door. Exterior doors, 15 pounds to operate the door. Unless it is a power-assisted door and the door has failed, the power is out, you're allowed a maximum of 50 pounds. But that's why those systems in some environments have to have additional backup power so that, again, like I can talk about this bullshit all night. The fact that modern buildings, y'all know this, right? You don't see a knob anymore. That's because in a fire, first of all, it might be hot. You might burn yourself. Or maybe you don't have good grip in your hands. Maybe you're just kind of thwacking it with your arm. Lever-style door handles are what we have everywhere now. That's one of the reasons that under-door attacks work. The inside handle is easily hit. And if you don't know what this is the under-door tool. It's a wire, it's a rod, you pull down, you hit the handle, and like a creepy guy is popping into your hotel room. Yeah. Again, it's not a lot of strength. We just were asking this question. These are all in the slides, they're all in the notes. So fire code and ADA code speaks to how much strength and, oh my God, this is so many soldiers lined up for inspection.
Do you want some water?
Gonna run this specimen over to the lab. Ooh. Ooh.
So it's not that
Ooh. Is that McCullen? The McCullen. Very nice. All right. The more funny I pour down my throat, the better the talk gets, right? This is that little pressure gauge that I was just showing you, right? Again, having one, you just look like oh, look at that guy. He's doing something with pressure and writing down numbers. He's got to belong here. Yes. Multiple locking or latching devices, like let's say you've got these are called surface mount rods, right? We've got a top and a bottom rod. Doors here, by the way, are LBR installation, less bottom rod. They don't have the bottom rod. It's been taken out. They didn't take it out correctly, I'll tell you. But anytime you have multiple latching and locking points, there's one egress motion. And this is probably a Von Dupper 99. So hit that. Actually, no, that's a weird scalloped edge. I don't know whose that is. And it's not a fire door because it's capable of dogging. You got a little hole right there. But yeah, one motion will unlock all points of the door. You might have a door like this. So I'm pretty sure SafeLock makes this one. This is their Quantum product. You say, look, well, there's a deadbolt and a handle. You may have seen systems like this, right? Quantum Pixel deadbolt, you flip it, but if you're in the inside, you've got to, with your hand or an under-door tool, it's going to unlock all points of the door. This lets us break into buildings in tons of environments. You couldn't in Japan because they don't have our same codes where you have this doozle. You got to hit the thumb button and then, you would not have this in the United States. Yeah, single motion egress is huge. Now, a lot of you, how many people are staying at the hotel here? Okay. How many people ever stayed in a hotel? Heard of a hotel? Been to a hotel? All right. You're like, all right, I have seen, wait a minute. I've seen devices like these. What the hell's going on? I've seen these, I've seen these. These are night locks or privacy locks. You're like, there's no linkage. My handle, yes, because depending on the occupancy, depending on the type of structure and the type of space you're in, there's exceptions. There's a million exceptions to the rules. So night latches, security latches, deadbolts sometimes are allowed in certain low occupancy, typically residential environments. By the way, you know there's tools for these. There's tools for these. This is called a lock jockey. We literally just did it in our room. Like Kimmy learned how to use it in 2 seconds. It works really well. Yeah, you can pop these open all the time. What's never allowed, like never ever allowed, are things like padlocks on a hasp, chains, bars. If you ever see those on a marked exit of any kind, absolutely going to be a violation. And you will see this a lot. I think there was a hand way back there, and there was a hand here.
That goes to the roof. Is that a violation of fire safety?
So the question is that you got to see the roof, baller ass move that the company is like, yeah, come along, kids. Don't need your parents. I'll take you to the roof. Like, that sounded way creepier than it was meant to sound. Yeah. So that you said, we went to the roof and there was a padlock on the roof hatch. That's probably not a violation. Well, the door. That's probably, unless that, like if the door was a signposted exit, maybe that was an additional egress path. Maybe that would be a violation. Probably, I'm betting that's a non-occupancy space, that only maintenance will be up there. I'm betting it's not. But if you ever see a sign that says exit and you got something like this, definitely a violation. Behind you, yeah.
That actually is something to add to that, where in one of the dorms I stayed in on a campus, they had a stairway that says no roof access.
Mm-hmm.
And you can clearly see a ladder with roof access, but they had the padlock at the top.
Oh, that's so weird.
Yeah.
So if you're in stairwells and you see no roof access, those signages are usually for emergency situations, maintenance or emergencies, because getting to the roof to do ventilation cuts is a big thing for fighting fires. So if they said no roof access, but there's clearly some, now I assume you didn't go up the ladder and pick the lock, so maybe it wasn't the roof. It might have been a crawl space, might not have been roof access. But any signage like that, and then there's also the possibility that the lock could have been a breakaway lock or a cutaway lock. If you've ever seen a padlock, when you look at it, you're like, wow, this is a real piece of crap. And you look closer, you're like, it's a super piece of crap. It's got, the shackle has little like pinch points that get narrow. Those are meant for firefighters to put a tiny bolt cutter right on them and chop the lock off. Yeah. So yes, exits, you have to discharge cleanly. You can't, there's all kind of rules with exits. You can't pass through like storage spaces or kitchens. They can't narrow on the way out. Door width clearances, 32 inches is the standard clearance, except in the intrusion zone where it's allowed to be a little bit less. Again, not gonna dig way all into this nonsense. Like if you're trying to flee guards and get out of a building that you've snuck into without the right credentials, an emergency exit will always get you out. It might alarm, it might make some screamers and sounders, but it'll get you out. You're not allowed to trap people anywhere. There's no space you could ever be in a building where the signed posted exit will trap people in. So the Dade Murphy on the roof, Kate Libby. So you can't trap, you can delay them, right? You can see, so push until doors will open, like those standard delayed egress is very common, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, et cetera. That's very common, but you can't, what's that?
Like that congressman found out.
Oh yeah, that one congressman tripped the exit, absolutely. But again, like in the code, you can look this up and it will literally say like, swiping of cards, using of any kind of access control tokens must be procedural, but must never be necessary to use any marked exit. Free egress needs to be available. Yes?
Was the creation and the evolution of these codes precipitated by like events?
Oh yeah.
Every one of
Yeah,
them?
we were telling some horror stories at the beginning. Oh yeah, about like it's like basically loads of people, mostly children and immigrant women and such, people that society deemed expendable, like died for many, many hundreds of years until someone's like, what if people didn't die? Yeah, so that's why this is all a product of very rough stories and a lot of labor agitation and agitation in the press. The whole, like, this is just like a backdoor way of me telling you that, like, which side are you on? Like, just stand up for the little guy. Like, so you have to drag society kicking and screaming into, like, the greater tomorrow that we can all create. Now, yeah, go ahead, and then I'll tell you another story.
How does ADA compliance integrate with like egress doors?
Yeah, so ADA compliance, often referred to as barrier-free codes. You're going to see that mentioned a lot in 101. NFPA 101 speaks to that. And ADA has their own additional series of codes. They show up in the I codes, the IBC building codes. They're very interconnected. They're very almost harmonized together in certain situations where one will speak to the other. They'll say, this door must be compliant because of poundage of pressure, et cetera, et cetera. And there are times when the codes mismatch. And like, which one do you comply with? Your building engineers have to speak to the local AHJ, and certain buildings, like this building on this city block is following NFPA code, and like this building down here is following the I codes. Like it's the reason that Lori and other people can do the job they have and be really valuable to huge companies where tons of money's on the line, is it's hard to comply with the codes unless you have an expert assisting you. Yeah. So how do the codes influence laws? Oh, so just because, I know that we're Americans, we think international law doesn't apply to us. But, so no, the I codes, we are part of the world, and there are many jurisdictions that will just adopt the I codes instead of NFPA. Just because like reasons. I would ask Lori why that actually happens. Why do some regions do this and others don't? So this gets into, though, wait a minute. What about our Hollywood plot line? We said free egress must be allowed, and this is a marked exit. Well, that's because different types of occupancies, if you want to sound like you belong there, this is your huge section, all of these rules are defined by their exceptions. Just like the Fourth Amendment has been shredded to death and now it's defined more by the exceptions that the court has put in place. So yeah, certification and classification of what occupancy structure you're in, and you can speak to this. You can speak to this to sound knowledgeable. There's only like 7 or 8 that you're ever going to really ever see. Let's just rock through them really fast. I'm going to talk to you about, because again, you can be like that awesome, boring person at parties who you will make dumb people go away from you and make cool hackers come up to you if you start just rambling about this stuff. So right now, we are in, probably this would be certified as Group A. We're in an area of assembly. This can obviously hold more than 50 people. There's subtypes, but there are anything 50 or more, you're probably in a Group A occupancy structure. So you're going to have rules involving panic egress hardwares, not turning knob hardwares that push outward swing doors, a whole bunch of other things like that. Group A, assembly. Group B is business. Unless you're like making widgets or stocking widgets on a shelf, but if you're going to like do a capitalism, you're probably in a Group B structure. Everything to do with business, day-to-day business, working business, all the way down to like, telephone exchanges is listed as one of the types, because who has a telephone exchange anymore? Like ISPs, data centers, they would all be Group B. Educational is Group E, right? Group E is a building where multiple persons are occupying a space for educational purposes. All my notes are going to be in the PDF that I'll throw on my website. Some daycare facilities are Group E. There's all different clarifications. Group E is weird. If you want to get a really lucrative career, potentially, learn how to consult for schools. The tension in play, especially nowadays, in school security versus school building code, there's a lot of trouble there. And people do a lot of very lucrative and very valuable consulting to make sure buildings are safe, but also like safe from like fire and safe from like Caleb who got picked on and found his daddy's Glock. Like there's a whole lot of shit like that. So yeah, by the way, universities are not Group E because you're all grown-ups there. Group E is for little kiddos. Group F, factory industrial, right? If you're making the widgets, you got a factory setting. There's subtypes of all of these. Yeah, go ahead.
What would a college be?
Oh, what would a college be? It's going to be a hodgepodge. That was like a question. I feel like, didn't somebody ask this last night when we were talking about this? Yeah, it's going to be a hodgepodge. Just like this building we're in right now, the meeting rooms that are small are probably the offices are going to be Group B. We're in Group A. All the rooms we're staying in are going to be Group R, residential. So a college is going to be all chopped up. Most college rooms are probably going to be Group B unless they are big enough to be areas of assembly, Group A. The student dorms are going to be Group R. Yeah, it's a mixed bag, right? Group H, if anybody works in high hazard environments, good stuff. The stuff that goes boom or blaze or cough, 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 or oh my God, I'm dying. So yeah. Yeah, semiconductor fabrication is its own subclassification of Group H, high hazard. This gets into where you have different bulbs in your sprinklers. That gets into what kind of discharge deluge systems you have. But yeah, this is its own separate set of what's it. Institutional we talked about, right? So these are places where people, may not be capable of self-care or self-preservation, or may not have the liberty to like just go out inside and leave the building. Any space, basically, I've got my notes here, occupied by 16 people, not including staff, who reside there on a supervised basis. And then there's all these subnotes, but basically, if you're sleeping there and it's not group R, it's probably some flavor of group I. And that's where these weird edge cases come up. Group M, mercantile. If there's widgets on a shelf and people are like, I'm not paying for that, like, too much, that's going to be group M, mercantile. Group R is residential. It doesn't have to be long-term. It can be short-term. Again, hotels, motels, college dorms, certain kind of like senior care. Like, wait, senior care? You said senior care was group I, institutional. I know, it was, but it's sometimes not. Like, it depends on how many people are living there. It depends on which staff is there at what hours of the day. It's a weird industry where learning these little details makes you very, very valuable as a consultant or a pen tester. Group S is storage, generally 100 square feet. You got more than 100 square feet, and it's mostly occupied by boxes, you got a storage. If you got less than that, it's part of whatever the other structure is that you're in. That includes things like vehicle storage. Not for residential, commercial vehicle storage only. Or planes. My wife's a pilot, like, plane storage. Go ahead.
How many Group R facilities have you ever pen tested?
How many Group R facilities have I pen tested? A non-zero number that probably does not exceed 10. It's a low number. Now, like, pen tested for, like, money. When I was, a ruffian,
I don't
like,
mean for fun.
I've been on the roof of a lot of hotels.
I know.
Yeah. And the last one is Group U. If you don't know what the hell it is, it's probably Group U. Like, you see a lot of agro, a lot of farm animal husbandry, airport towers, anything weird, it's going to be Group U. So why do we care about these classifications? Again, it's because exceptions come into play. I did see you. I'm going to get you in a sec. Things like, have you ever been in a building where you're like, one door is open and the other leaf of the door has stupid flush bolts? And you're like, God damn it, hang on, let me pop these. And then you're the hero to the crowd trying to get out. Like, how is that allowed? Well, it may or may not be allowed. Group B allows them as long as the main leaf of the door can serve the occupant load, but you can't put dummy hardware on the other leaf of the door. All these are weird edge cases. We talked about residential. Loads of weird stuff. Under the I codes define residential as 10 people or less, NFPA is 3. Loads of hotels. You can put more than 3 people in a hotel room if there's 2 double beds. Don't know what they're doing because they got those superfluous extra locks on the doors. I don't know about that shit. Schools and daycares, again, like security of schools, there's in so much tension with the codes. Do you know, by the way, so like Schlag is, tell me that's not another goddamn glass coming up at me. Oh my God. I got a lot to work through. Are you going to kick me off, by the way? Are we doing okay? All right. Like, do you know, so some of the new school locks, this is just a fun side story. In an emergency like lockdown, let's say they're not electronically locked doors, there are now locks on school doors that can have a key on both sides, but the keys both lock the outside handle. So that if there is like an alert and the teacher's like, oh God, I have to secure the classroom, the teacher doesn't have to go out into the hallway to dick around with this. Their key will lock this handle. And then the inside handle will always work for free egress. Yeah.
What about a prison?
Group I, a correction environment is going to be Group I,
Right.
Group I2 or 3?
People out?
No, that would be very controlled egress, absolutely.
And there's no under door tools for prisons, right?
Are there under door tools for prisons? No comment. I'm going to work my way up. We're going to go bang, bang. So yes. You're next. You've been so patient.
Are using residential like homes where they may not be. What happens there?
Right. So what if you have a clearly residential structure that is now being used for non-residential purposes, such as a senior care, a daycare, etc.? You're probably, again, I'm not your lawyer, you're probably going to reissue your certificate of occupancy for that task. And you're probably going to have to reclassify, or it gets into square footage. The side of your house that is like the daycare might have to comply with Group E, but your bedroom and your kitchen and all that might still be Group R occupancy. I do see the hand, but you've been so patient, please. It can be like 18 slides ago, I don't care. Tell me, speak nice and calm and slow. You've been so patient.
What document can we read about all these groups in?
Oh, what document can you read about all this in? So the iCodes, the IBC, the iCodes documents, and NFPA also speaks to this. I will throw a ton of links in the notes, And also, I hope that this kicks off like more people who want to learn. I'll show you at the end. I keep mentioning Lori. I'll mention her now and later. Lori Greene. I love her to death. She works for Allegion. She's the bee's pajamas. Her blog is like the best resource ever. I'm going to throw it up at the end. But yeah, like it's not easy. This is not easy stuff. There was maybe a hand here, and then I'm going to jump back. There was, hang on, boom, boom, boom. All right.
What about places like pools, saunas, etc.?
Pools and saunas, etc. What about them?
What would they fall under?
Oh, what would they fall under? That's a fascinating question. What would a pool be? I'm betting most pools would be area of assembly, unless you got a teeny ass kiddie pool. It's probably going to have more than 50 people there. Something like a sauna.
Saunas
God.
have special rules.
They must have special rules for not trapping people.
I have a story for you for later.
Okay. I mean, I'm getting them. You're telling me no time, and I'm getting a card, so I don't know who I'm going to keep talking for a while, but all right, you had a question then back there.
Yeah, so I guess this is a bit, Group E seems like an interesting thing for me in terms
Yes.
of access controls.
All of the folk who are students and realizing that they are in Group E environments, you are in the most complicated environment. And the controls and the rules are a mishmash. And you might see things that you think are violations, but maybe aren't. It's a whole, like, I won't even do a lot of work in Group E environments to the code. I can't speak to code. I will say things like, maybe not compliant. Please check with someone paid more than me. We got to keep jitterbugging along. I got a hand in the back, and then we're well beyond 2/3, almost 3/4 done, I promise. Talk to me in the back, and then we got to go. Yeah.
What are, like, something on a military base?
Military base.
Federal facilities?
Oh, yeah.
What are they exempt from this? Do they have different codes?
If you're on a military base, you're probably on federal land. Federal land doesn't follow building codes. Yep, they do not. They don't have to. So complete Wild West. Complete freaking Wild West. I literally was, I was lecturing at West Point pretty recently, and so this is a good time to tell you this, because this is the dumbness that's on my YouTube channel. I have been filming videos of like fire doors. We're going to do a fire door inspection in the last section. And I've been doing a little fire door inspection of various places that I stay. And recently I was at West Point, and I was staying at the Army Hotel, like in their like facility, and I was like, wow, this place is a total, like you were there, you remember it. It was like, oh, this place doesn't comply with anything. Yeah. We talked, again, delayed and controlled egress. It's only allowable in some environments. It's specifically disallowed in many environments. The I codes like disallow it in Group A, Group High Hazard. You're never going to allow anything in High Hazard. But yeah, like you can dig way into this. So where are you most likely breaking in, right? I'll quiz you. You just listened to me, and you're all drinking, and we're all going to try to see if we get this. If your target is a corporate office, what group occupancy is that? Ooh, cool answer. Most of you said what I thought would be Group B, but is this atrium Group A? I don't know. Damn, I don't know. I think it's probably, most offices are going to be Group B. How about a university?
Depends.
Depends is the answer. It's not Group E, exactly. How about I broke into a foodstuff processing and packing place. I don't know.
Is this H?
Nobody's sleeping there, unless they got drunk the night before. They're probably not sleeping there. If it was a powder mill, like a powder, it might be Group H, but it's probably Group F, exactly. Probably going to be factory industrial. Data centers, specifically, a lot of y'all broken into data centers. Yep, Group B. They are specifically called out on Group B. Records room of a hospital. Ooh, who's at F? They're not manufacturing the records. S is in Sierra. Very likely, yes. If it's over 100 square feet, probably S. If it's less than that, it's probably whatever the other occupancy is, which again, like, is this a business office? It's not the residence rooms of the hospital. Power company, break into a substation. Probably going to be you, yep. Could be high hazard. It's hazardous to your meat bag, but it's probably not hazardous to like a fire. If you're in these spaces, if you know these codes, don't be surprised when you start spotting violations, right? You're going to encounter this stuff. You write it up. You write it up with neutral language. You know, we observed an exit sign held on by broken zip ties. May not be in compliance with acceptable standards for, this occupancy. Just remember, you're not the AHJ. You can't issue fines. You can't, write people up. Let neutral language do the heavy lifting. Now, if you see something egregiously bad, like if I broke into someone's office and I saw a Pelican case that might contain a gun, it's got a bunch of Magpul stickers, I'd be like, well, I didn't see anything. You didn't see shit either. But no, if I saw a shotgun on someone's desk and a box of shells spilled out there, I'd be like, point of contact. What's your policy with guns in the office, question mark? Someone having a bad day, sad face emoji? Like, you know, you send, you in the middle of a pen test, you say, like, oh my God, this literally, like, the fire extinguishers are all gone in this wing of the building. You're like, hey, is this an occupied structure? Did I break into the correct building? Like, but in general, you will never stop seeing this now. You will be in so many places where you're going to notice weird ass, like the door that is blocked with a bunch of crap and has a padlock on it. Like, yeah, I've never called the cops for anything. I've called AHJs, and this door doesn't look like this anymore. Now getting into the last section. Yes, one question, then we got to keep going.
What is your recommended way of finding your local AHJ for like wherever you are?
How do you find the local AHJ? Fire marshal, 9 times out of 10 is the fire marshal. So look up, like, because a lot of those cats run for election and stuff. Fire chief or fire marshal. And if it's not them, they're going to know who it is. Yeah. All right. We're still hanging. We're still... Oh, authority having jurisdiction. That's a very good term to know. If someone says, "What are you in charge of this?" You're like, "No, I'm not your local AHJ." I've used one time Howard and I, remember Howard Payne? Who saw Howard and I talk about elevators, right? Yeah, we were literally, a security guard grilled the crap out of us. He was like, "Why are you documenting this? Are you writing us up?" And Howard was like, "No, I'm not the AHJ. We're just an interested party." And he's like, "Do you work for them?" He's like, "No, we're just civilians." But yes. So all right, final section. I can't believe how many questions this has involved. All right. Holy crap. Save your clapping for the part that's worth clapping about, where at the end you're gonna all go away with a lot of free fun stuff.
We're at 97 minutes for your records.
Oh my God. All right. I blame all of you for being so enthusiastic. Okay.
Love you too, man.
Love you all. All right. Building construction. Cocktail party tip. Do you know there are 5 types of building structures that exist? Has to do with how resistant to fire they are in the United States, North America. So type 5, the lowest one, is wood frame. They're going to go up like kindling. Any exposure to flame. This is why, like, if you're in a house, you get the F out in small wood frame structures. Just get out. Just grab the kid, grab the NAS, maybe power it down gracefully, maybe don't. Just get out of the building. Right? Buildings will go up faster than you might imagine. Wood is bad, but not all wood. So type 4 is heavy timber, big dimensional lumber. So like they do surprisingly well in big dimensional lumber if it's maintained, not like an abandoned barn. But yeah, it'll start to char on the outside, but then it'll insulate the lumber. But that's a type 4, heavy timber, large dimensional. Most modern buildings that you live in, modern houses today, a lot of modern apartment buildings, going to be ordinary structures. Non-combustible except for the roof. A lot of commercial buildings, tilt slab. If you've never seen, you ever like drive through a town, you haven't been there in a couple months, you're like, when the hell did that building go up? It's literally, they pour concrete, they just boom, boom, boom. They just throw up these tilt slabs, non-combustible material. Most buildings you're going to be, for businesses, going to be type 2, with the exception of high rises. Type 1, actual fire resistive structures. You got concrete, protected steel, with fire retardation, the whole jet fuel can't melt steel beams, that kind of shit. Yes, question here.
So, like, are you familiar with the term 5/1? And if so, what do you think what type would that fall under?
A 5/1. Help me out here.
It's where you have like one floor.
Oh, like yes, like the kind of buildings that the missing middle of America that we really need to build more in our cities to make them walkable again. Yes. Oh yeah, I love City Nerd and not just bikes. Absolutely. Yeah. They are almost certainly going to be a lot of ordinary or tilt slab. Most like you might get the occasional curtain walled cladding. The official definition of a high-rise building is 35 to 55 feet tall. Sometimes anything more than 75 is definitely high-rise. Some agencies will say 35 to 55. It actually has to do with what fire suppression can reach in terms of ladder trucks, evac, etc. Anything over about 7 or 8 stories. This building is about 6 on one of the floors, I think. We're probably going to be a type 1 structure that we're in. Could be type 2, but probably type 1. There was a hand.
What's the bulk of material in the ordinary?
In ordinary? So these are going to be like your aluminum rafters, steel and aluminum rafters and joists. Drywall, gypsum board, not going to be. The walls are not combustible, the roof can be.
Aluminum,
yep.
not steel.
Yep. Yeah, modern construction standards, ordinary
Is there any
buildings.
reason it can't be steel?
Could be steel, cost.
I mean,
Yeah.
but not fire code reason.
Sorry?
But not a code reason.
No, fire code loves steel. Absolutely. Fire code, in fact, we're going to get into this with fire doors. This is the big takeaway of like, if you want to really look like you belong in a building, doing a fire door inspection, you see a lot of steel. Ending it on fire doors. And again, I am a certified fire door inspector. I don't do it for profit. I took the class, I did the test, I passed the certification just to sound like I belong in a building. Is this a fire door? No. I don't know. Look, they got an extinguisher, you got a sign, you got...
Extinguisher means nothing to sign.
I know. How about these? Are these fire doors? No. Definitely not. I can tell you they're not, because they're capable of dogging with the little hole right there. That would not be fire rated. Dogging, cool term. It's not about all the puppy girls out there. No, dogging is when you can engage the touch bar, and usually with a turn key or a hex key, you can lock it in a free swing. That's dogging of an exit.
Why is that bad for fire code?
For fire code, that makes the door not self-latching if it's dogged. All fire doors have to self-close and self-latch. We'll talk about why there's fire doors and fire exits. This is probably it might be a fire door, it's also probably a fire exit.
I was at a casino, I was standing by the door, and a security guard came over and said, "You're gonna have to move, you're blocking the fire exit." As though if there was a fire, I wasn't gonna run. If you're flammable and have legs, you are never blocking a fire exit.
I adore Mitch Hedberg, I miss him very much. So yes, we're talking about not just fire exits, we're talking about what are called labeled fire door assemblies. You're gonna start noticing this in your day-to-day world. Are we out of disk space on the capture device? Are we still recording? Thank God. Is my phone dead? Is it probably done? All right, still recording. Cool. All right. Labeled fire. If you're going through a door in a commercial space, usually look at the door frame on the hinge side. Look at the door on the hinge side. You might see labels that are marked on there. You got yourself a fire door covered under NFPA 80. So, what are labeled? These are interior doors. They're going to be certified by bodies you have heard of. Underwriters Lab, UL, probably heard of them. You may have heard of Warnock Intertech if you're in Europe. You're going to see, so QAI is kind of a new outfit that's out there. FMG, FM Global does certification. These are certified performance of the door and the whole door frame assembly for how it will handle that portal in a fire. Why is fire dangerous? There are 4 hazards during a fire that make humans stop metabolizing and breathing. Smoke, heat, flame, toxic gases, right? This in particular. How many of you were like penniless hackers that you were running like your cat networks and you didn't frickin' buy plenum or riser cable? You just bought general multi-purpose cable because it was cheaper? No, don't do that shit. If you're running it through plenum spaces, you're running it through ducts. I did this in hacker spaces when I was young. Yeah, like fire-rated chemical resistant cable. Like basically, instead of using PVC, it uses low smoke PVC or FEP. It's a fluorinated ethylene polymer. Because again, like toxic gas and smoke is what gets you. Most people don't wind up a crispy critter until long into the fire process. It's because they couldn't keep moving because they passed out. Fire doors mitigate the spread of smoke, flame, and toxic gases through a building by compartmentalizing the whole building into different areas, especially those fire exits. Almost always going to have them on fire exits and other doors. And their performance is predictable. It's been tested. It's been literally like, it's amazing to see. This is the other side of this door, the building is almost gone. It is wrecked. This is again, it's a photo from Lori. This side of the door, everyone's fine. You can see the smoke and fire wanted to get through and it didn't. This is all covered under NFPA 80. The testing that these, if you submit your door and your frame for assembly testing, right? Like these are different, they heat the stuff. It costs like $20,000. They heat the door in a furnace. Then they check to see if there's bowing, if there's latch failures, if there's gaps. This is a 90-minute furnace test. Here you have 2 different doors, one of which has a smoke seal, one of which does not. We can see very different results.
Which one has the smoke seal?
Probably the one on the right. This one probably also doesn't have fire-rated glass. I would say it would be silica glass, but I can see Georgian polished wire in there, so I don't know. But yeah, like this is, not only is the fire from the heat, what happens when you then hit it with a hose, right? Is the door going to fail? This is a hose stream test, 30 PSI. Had to do 45 PSI for a 3-hour test. So yeah, these doors have to withstand the heat of a fire, the shock of the hose, like the burn, the cold soak. This is really robust construction. And again, because people who came before us all died, nowadays we are safer because we force businesses, we force companies to conform to these standards. And if you've paid all this money and you did all this work and research and you submitted your door for testing, you better hope that the building that bought your door installed it correctly. This is what we do as fire door testers and inspectors, right? The NFPA requires annual inspections of all fire doors. Every freaking door in a building, if it's a labeled door, it's supposed to get an annual inspection. And now under the new code, the 2018 code, after any modifications or service to a door, you have to re-inspect the door. So someone could literally say, didn't we just have our fire door inspected? Like, no, we had a work order. We understand you lubed and greased a thing and you changed a door closer. I'll find it. It's in my work order. I'll find it. Yeah, I'm here to inspect the door. Let's talk about fire door inspection. And if anyone wants, you can be the first in line for the cool free shit. If anyone wants to, I'm going to invite you to go to any of these doors. Go and stand near them, and we're going to shout out with y'all. We're going to walk through the 13 points of a fire door inspection. Okay? So here's how to sound like you're a knowledgeable inspector. And if you're bored with me, it's the perfect time to slip out right now. Door's going to be open. All right. First question, labels. How many of these doors have labels? Look at the hinge side of the door. Open the doors. Look at the hinges. You got labeled doors? You got a blocked door? Oh, so yes, labels have to be visible and legible.
90 minutes.
90-minute door, all right. Yeah, it's up to the inspector to what counts as legible, right? You can ask for hardware to be removed to check it out. Now, like, is this legible? I mean, depends how kind I feel that day, right? This door has got a lot of problems. It's not closing.
They've actually painted multiple coats.
Painted multiple coats. Oh, fail. Shout it out.
There's a small label, and because of this, since they're not legible, is that like something that can be played around with?
Oh, no, like if it's not legible, it's not legible. You got to say, what the hell did you do? Too high to read? No, they can be anywhere on the, sometimes they're allowed to be on top of the door, especially if you've installed like a continuous hinge or something on the door.
If they're on the door instead of the door frame.
So doors and door frames should both be labeled in most instances.
Here's just the door.
That's weird. That's weird. Let's move on to step 2. Remember, this is to seal the room. Holes or breaks. Any holes or breaks? Our peepholes. Peepholes are allowed if they're fire rated. There are UL rated peepholes. They're made of glass. Most of the time, unless it's outright damage, most holes or breaks are from servicing, from moving the shoe of the closer. Any holes or breaks? We're doing pretty good. Maybe? Oh, missing a screw? Broken parts. Missing or broken parts. Coming up next. Right on. Glazing. We don't have any windows here, but you can have windows, and they're called lights, vision lights in a fire door. So yeah, again, glass should be etched with a fire certification label. We got no glass here, so we're going to skip that. The frame, the hinges, the hardware, the appurtenances. Beautiful word, very fun word. What's the violation here? We got all the people on the doors here. Talk to me in the audience. What's the weird violation here? Why the hell are there 2 night latches? We don't, like, last night we were talking, we're like, maybe it's for someone in a wheelchair. Well, that means you got to pull this one and put it down here, and you got to fill these holes. Yeah, so all these notes are online. If it's attached to a door, it's got to be fire rated and probably labeled. Hinges are the only things that don't have to be visibly, like, fire rated. The latch, the hardware, the touch bar. What you got?
What are these holes in the top of the frame, like above the door? So when the door can close, the hole is...
Let me see. Hang on.
It's right there.
Yeah, right there.
The flashlight.
Is it? No, that's a violation. That frame had a hole the size of like a quarter in it. What do you got? I can't hear. What's happening?
It's a wiggly, like, attachment to the push.
Oh, the push bar is like not locked on hard?
The side one, yeah.
I don't know. It depends how kind I feel that day. We're getting to that. Self-closing, self-latching. Any broken parts? Anything completely missing? We saw, who had a missing screw?
3 screws.
Literally, if you have like a smoke seal, this smoke seal is not sealing. If you have a snapped off screw, absolutely. You got to dig that out of there. Got to put a new one in there. Yeah. So, all right, here I got free stuff. Here comes free stuff for first door team, next door team, way down in the back. These are door gap gauges because, oh God, shit, Cy. Oh man, I hit Cy. I'm so sorry. That's for the back team. All right. Door clearances. Item 6, you actually have to make sure the door is the right gap. Because again, we're trying to prevent stuff flowing through the door. Heat, smoke, flame, toxic gas. Are these doors wood or metal? What do you think? Knock on them. Pound on the door. They're wood or metal? We'll say maybe they're wood. I can't tell. You think they're wood? Need one back there? There you go. Woo! All right. 3/16 of an inch. If the gap is more than 3/16 of an inch, you got a problem.
Is that different between the edge or between 2 joined doors? Like this one's...
Any edge except for the bottom.
Okay, so
Bottom gap, 3/4 of an inch. Check all the edging.
is the 3D print file of whatever...
Is that 3D print file online? I don't know. I mean, the part's on Red Team Tools, but... All right. We're not going to get way into things like hospital stops and terminated stops, but I'm a clean freak, so I love hospital stops. Here's the big one. Wait, what's the hand? Shout it out.
How are these installed wrong? You said it earlier.
Oh, yes. So all of those touch bars, right? The touch bar hardware has a surface mount rod. Underneath it, there's a hole in the ground for the bottom rod. There's no bottom rod.
Right.
Put your hand where the bottom rod would go.
There's a hole.
There's a hole. There shouldn't be a hole. That should be capped. There should be a spring pushing with positive pressure on the top rods. I see that all the time. But
What if our door has no bars and still has the hole?
There's no crash bar.
ooh, oh man. Oh my God, that's a marked exit, but it doesn't have panic egress hardware.
One of the holes is covered, one of them is not.
Oh wow, you got the winner of a door over there. All right. Okay. Tell me, please. All right. Got to quiet down. All right. If you open the doors, do they self-close and self-latch? Show me. So you got a real interesting one. You got an astragal on that door, right? Yeah. Hold the active leaf open so it closes the wrong way. Let me see what happens. Right, because the astragal's hitting. Yeah. Violation. Absolutely. And self-closing, self-latching is the biggest violation I encounter. Whether you have door closers, some of them are hidden in flush mount, spring hinges. My room in this, I think we have spring hinges in our room. Spring hinges are bad. So just because a door closer doesn't have its cover, it doesn't matter. You can replace the cover, not replace the cover. You can adjust a door closer. That's an allowed repair. But they should self-close and self-latch. Yeah.
So is the hotel manager going to have a bad night tonight?
Oh yeah, definitely. Tweet to @Hilton at this. Definitely. They'll love it. So yes, self-closing, self-latching should always be the rule. What do you got down there?
So I'm kind of curious. What about closing?
Yep, so what you got right there? Double doors, you got a problem with your door coordinator. There you go. There should be, anytime you have multiple leafs, an active and a passive leaf, you should have a door coordinator. There's these really cool, robust ones that no one buys because they're very big and bulky. They use these flush mount ones. They love these flush mount ones. They always get broken because people shove them. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so over here we got 3 exit signs. So one in the middle has an arrow to the left, and the other 2 have nothing.
That's also really weird. I don't know why that one.
All of these have nothing either.
Yeah. Like these are, all 6 of these are marked exits, and they should all be in compliance, and we're finding all kind of weird stuff going on here. All right.
There's a lot of
Yes. The con did a wonderful job putting us here. Yeah, Sai, go ahead.
You mentioned a concern about the spring hinges. What's the concern?
Oh, so spring hinges don't have any damping. The reason you use door closers, they have an oil reservoir, and they'll swing, and then they'll slow at the end. It still have closing force. Spring hinges, you're just gonna bam. Like there's been literally like, because fire doors are heavy ass doors. There was a lawsuit, a little kid who like had a finger pinch in a department store. Like yeah, spring hinges. Technically, the rule is you should open the door by 30 degrees or 1/3, and it should be able to self-close. I've seen loads of doors fail. The latch. How about the latch throw? You check the latching hardware. Is it fire rated? The latching hardware, literally, like look on the seam, the outside seam of the door. There should be an F rating. Good fire exit hardware, nice. It will say on the door's label how big the latch should be. 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch. You can measure it with the little door gauge.
No middle latch.
You have, oh really, there's no middle latch at all. So this is only a top surface mount rod.
Yes.
God damn. Not right, not right. Yeah, what do you got? What devices? Oh, hold opens. Yes. So there's a whole section about that coming up. By the way, this was that LBR, the less bottom rod installation. Literally, if you see this, anytime you see this, check the door. Is there a hole where there used to be a bottom rod or not? Look for an LBR fire pin. These doors do have, some of them have fire pins. They're basically, in a fire, a pin will shoot out and lock the doors together to seal the space. And you might say, wait a minute, then how does the door function as an egress point? The LBR fire pin fires at 1800 degrees. So that's not our problem anymore if we're in this room.
This definitely has that pen, and just for the record, you're at 2 hours.
Okay, 2 hours. I promise I'm going to wrap.
I'm fine.
All right, you're fine? All right, I heard I was fine. Question, yeah?
So out of curiosity, what is the reasoning for removing the bottom latch?
Oh, why would you remove the bottom rod? I freaking don't know. Like, well, no, actually, here's the main reason. Those holes collect crap. Those holes collect crap, and then doors don't latch correctly, doors don't operate correctly. So yeah, but if you ever see that, look underneath. You're supposed to put a support spring mechanism underneath so the top rod at least will do its job. I have been in buildings where I have just pushed hard on the doors, and the top rod will just pop back down because it's not supported. Don't break the doors. Okay.
So technically, breaking the doors is against conference policy.
Yes. Item 10, auxiliary items. We love writing people up for these. If you see door stops or kick downs or like little devices like this that someone spent a lot of time making, Sarah's going to be mad at me. Like this is my favorite museum in Seattle. But yeah, like this is a fire door. You can't do that. Look, in fact, if you're breaking into a building, nothing says you can't have a door stop. And just like throw that shit down. Be like, what are you doing here? Be like, excuse me, what are you doing here? This is not allowed at your fire door. Yeah. You got a door stop? What do you got?
So is the mere proximity of a door stop to a fire door a violation, or is it only if it's actively holding?
Oh no, the mere if it's there. Like if I see a brick or a rock or a trash can that looks suspiciously close, I'm like, I know what you're doing here. The right way to do this crap, electromagnetic locks. Who's ever seen these? Yes. Everyone who went to school most of the time, right? So yeah, Centronic makes these, a number of people make these. They are powered during normal building operation, and if power goes out or if the alarm goes off, they will release power, the doors will self-close. This is how you hold doors open. And if you have doors that people have to continually go through with like carts, there are delayed closers. These are regular oil damper closers. There are ones that you can push, and they'll just stay open for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and then they'll close. There's hardware out, this is for all the blue teamers and the people who consult. There's hardware out there that will make the thing you need happen that doesn't violate code. Item 11, God, I hope none of these have been field modified at all. What's this guy doing? Why is this guy drilling like this? Any ideas? Shout it out. Yes, he's going to run power, or this is for electronic access controls, absolutely. This is a bigger and bigger issue nowadays. Electrified door hardware, if you're like drilling, and this is not a fire door, obviously, drilling a raceway through a door, like you can't do that. If the door wasn't designed that way when it was tested, you have to contact the manufacturer and get it recertified, file a completion sheet. Yeah, what do you got?
So you said people's are okay. They're glass.
but I don't know. Like, honestly, that's the kind of thing where you could look at the label, you look at the list. Like, here's literally a field modification that I don't know if was allowed. Yeah, you could unscrew it. So this is an electronic access control mortise pack with a battery pack in here. That looks really, really third party. This is my buddy's new apartment in San Francisco. And like, I reached out to Warnock and Intertech, and I was like, hey, this is the listing, because that listing number, they have that on file forever. And you can say, was this door submitted for testing with this weird mortise cut in it? Or did somebody just do that and never contact you? And by the way, that door was completely painted over at his apartment too, so I had to like scrape it off and see what the hell it was.
How does your buddy's landlord like you now?
Oh, fuck landlords. Like, yeah. So yeah, field modification, essentially, here's a good term for you, completion sheet. Anytime work is done on any fire door, fire system, anything, where's the completion sheet? That's something you can ask for, send somebody to go, the security guard, you're like, well, no, get facilities down here. Where's the completion sheet on this door? This is not in compliance.
Deviant.
Yeah?
Do you know of any fire doors with EAC that are like certified?
With EAC?
Electronic access controls.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Loads of them come from the factory, from the OEM, with a raceway, built right in. Absolutely common. Item 12, smoke seals. Tell me, do your doors have an S anywhere on the labels? If you could read the goddamn labels.
The doors we can read very fine. It's the doorways.
All right, but the door will say it.
This does not have a smoke seal.
Letter S? No letter S? If they have a letter S, they should have a smoke seal. It should be there. It should not be ripped down. Last step. I promise y'all going to get out of here, but then don't run because I got a whole free thing I'm going to do for you. Last step is signage, right? How much, because signage can burn, right? It can cause weird stuff to happen. I see a lot of signs that are bigger than 5% of the door in hotels. So I get my tape measure out. But yeah, signage. If there's signage on the door, check it out. So yes, have a reason to be there. Look like you belong there. This is going to get you into buildings. I got a question here. Go ahead.
If you have the best fire
You're going to sit back down. Thank you so much, by the way.
If you have the best fire door and a wall made of literal cardboard, like, how does that work?
Excellent question. If you have the best proper fire door, like certified by Warnock or Underwriters Labs, but the wall is shit, that wouldn't pass building inspection. The walls have to be true height walls. They have to be above the drop ceiling in the plenum space, all that. So yeah, that's covered by, it's not your job to care about that. You just care about the door and the assembly. But yeah, question behind you.
What kind of consequences will notification
Really good. So the question was, what kind of consequences can you face? It's all up to the AHJ. Like if you're your local AHJ, oh, you're gonna love what I'm gonna show you in 2 seconds, man. Yeah. The AHJ can write them up. It's up to the AHJ. One more, and then I gotta let you people go. Go ahead.
Are you going to bill for all this consultation?
Am I gonna bill for this? No. All free of charge. Actually, I've got to pay the con for like messing up your schedule for the night. I'm so sorry.
What the hell? That's why we put you at the end.
All right. So we talked about selling your persona, right? Because again, let's bring it back to hacker world, right? You're breaking in, you're red teaming, you're breaking in. Patrick does loads of this stuff. So like you have your worker outfit, you've got your polo outfit, when you get your gear, you want it to look lived in, look used. Buy your gear on eBay, buy it from pawn shops. Get little accessories. I have a bunch more of these these little door measuring tools. Yeah, by all means, I love you. Go ahead. Boom.
Is any of that Siemens stuff?
I have literally used this
Bang.
lately to get people to fix their shit.
Nice. Oh shit, that was his. Got it. All right. Are you raising a hand? We got one more. I saw your hand first. Sorry. He sat up front. What do you got? Yeah, getting the little door checker. If you want to bring more stuff, like you can measure distances. Things like, I've had guards hold doors open for people. They're like, hang on, I got to see how far away the sprinkler is from this thing. And yeah, I can't reach I gotta measure that can't violate the integrity of the measurement. Thank you, sir. Boom, get through. The industry, the software that everyone uses for doing this work is called Door IQ. You can buy the software. It runs on mobile platforms. It'll tell you if you forget the 13 steps that I just gave you. It's all in there. We talked about the little amber blinkies. We talked about putting a placard on your car. If you get asked, like, who are you with again? You can do recon on the target before you break in. Yes, go ahead.
What does the certification cost and what is it?
Oh, so to be an AFDI, oh God, I mean, the course, it's not 4 figures, 3 figures, mid 3 figures, I think, maybe. I took it through Aloha. I'm guessing it was $400, $500, something with a test, something like that. Question?
Have you ever used the
I could be way wrong about that. Go ahead.
Have you ever used the, no, we're just giving you a quote to see if we're going to replace your current company?
Ooh, interesting. Why are you here from not the other company? That's did you all hear that? You're not the no, we always have, what's this company's name? I don't know. Campbell. We always have Campbell. No. We're trying to bid for your contract next year. We're not from Campbell. We're here from, Allied Fire. Here's my business card that I, exactly, Vista printed, whatever. Yeah, that's a cool one. I've never done that. But many times, walking around a building, you can see the names of companies, right? So Tyco, like Johnson Controls. Johnson Controls owns everybody at this point, by the way. Are you telling me I've got to freaking leave?
I'm just
All right.
telling you to start wrapping it.
We are. We so are. We're so super are. I promise.
I'm trying to not be the bomb, but
All right. Is that dead? What? Okay, we'll be good. We got this. We got this. So yeah, like these are names people like know. They kind of know. I mean, I got my Johnson Controls. Like, if you want to, you can take your selfies in this later with stuff like Johnson. I got my Johnson Controls hat. Like, why not? I bought all this on eBay, right? Like, get your Siemens, get your outfits online. My favorite story about this, by the way. So again, I mentioned Chris. Eric works at, this is Lares Consulting. So Chris and Eric, they had this really hardened data center they were going up against. And they're like, man, I don't know what's going to go on here. This building looks kind of tight. Not a lot of ways in or out. There's only one vestibule, one entrance. And they drove around. They're looking at the data center. They got backup auxiliary power. Looking in the back, looking through fences. They're like, all right, what is that? That's Dominion. Dominion Power, they must have some arrangement with the local utility. All right, we got our Dominion shirts. All right, we're going to say we're here from Dominion. We have a reason to go check out the diesel generators. All right, we got a story. Okay, Chris pulls up. Eric gets out of the car. All right, going to go into the lobby. Talks to the guards. He's like, hi. Yeah, so Dominion sent us out here. And he's trying to get into his story and it doesn't know if the guard's going to buy it or not. Maybe a minute into the story, doors burst open. Some dude comes storming out of the data center. He's like, are you from Johnson Controls? And Eric, Dominion Power. He's like, yes, I am. Yeah. Well, get in here. The dude pushes the guard up, takes Eric inside, and you should watch the whole story. It involves like Chris under like a subfloor dealing with belching oil coming out of a Liebert power distributor. He's like fixing the head pressure, reading man pages and forum posts on his phone. But yeah, because like again, like just say yes. Are you from Johnson Controls? Sure. Siemens? Yes. All these companies are everywhere in buildings and you just don't know it. Facilities is used to these companies showing up for some boring ass reason. You got the shirt, maybe you got the badge. The badges will sell your cover persona. And this is, all of you who stayed, like we lost a couple people and they're going to regret it. So, I'm going to talk about badge printers. Some of you have seen KakalakiCon staff with some fun badges, right? We can talk a lot about badge printers and like a little inkjet printer. There's direct-to-card, there's retransfer, there's all different printers that can do different things with edge-to-edge printing and color-shifting ink. We have lots of them at Red Team Alliance and at Core Group. They are great to have if you're on a job. So here I am, I'm the elevator guy, right? I talk about elevators a lot. Here I am with my ThyssenKrupp hat, my ThyssenKrupp paperwork, and my shirt, but what's wrong? Oh, damn, I can't use my Otis badge. I got to call Bobak in his hotel room and be like, hey, if I send you a PNG, could you please print me a ThyssenKrupp badge? Thanks, I'm going to get it. There we go. Yes, have little accessories, have colored, taste the rainbow, wear the rainbow. Get a bunch of colored lanyards. Like if you're doing your recon, everyone at this company wears a blue frickin' lanyard. All right, I'm going to wear my blue lanyard, right? Badge printing software is balls. It's awful. It can do cool things, like I've got UV elements in my badge here, but like most corporations, they get a badge printer, they set it up once, and they're like, oh my God, nobody touch anything. It's working, thank God. With red teaming, you need to make a new badge all the time for every freaking job. So we have this. This is an app that we have been developing. Not only can it change on the fly with all different templates that we make, it runs on a smartphone. And Patrick's going to like elbow people trying to like buy one of these from me. and this is not a sales pitch, but this is what comes with us on jobs. This Pelican case contains a little Zebra portable.
This one right here?
Yes, this one right here. Literally, it is this case. Right. This is a badge printer, all the ribbons, all the accessories, a Proxmark, all the card stock. The real hard problem is, again, like the ribbons, these are sticky, weird ribbons. You could like, all right, we're gonna go to the job and we have our ribbon and it's in plastic and you use the ribbon once or twice and then what do you throw it away? It's like the printer ink model, right? You don't wanna get rid of it. So these little ribbons, we had our guy, Mike D, made us a whole box with little teeth that engage with the tractor wheels so you can lock the ribbon in place. It's got a gasket. This is what it looks like now if you want to be a red teamer making a badge because of a lot of people smarter than me and nicer than me. You go in the smartphone app. You pick which template you want. You take a picture of yourself with the phone. Bang. All right. Hey. Then you add that picture to the app. You say, I want this picture. I want to fix it because I got to crop it and stuff. Again, we're like, this is all super beta, but we want community input. We want it so badly that I brought the app and I brought the smartphone. And I'm going to make as many of these effing badges as you want all weekend long. So before you come up to me, have your best face on, your best makeup on, pick which fake name you want. Little homage to Johnny Long. He always used to break in saying he was literally Jeff Lineman from the phone company. You hit print, wireless connection from the phone to the printer, bam, there's your badge. We're gonna run this till the wheels fall off. We're gonna run these as many as we can, as fast as we can, all night tonight, all day tomorrow in the hangout area, and I'm gonna make you as many badges as you fucking want. Yes, question here. So yes, make the dream real. Like make the leap from your idea to a badge. This is Eric who wanted to look really scary badge looking. He's making most of the app. So yeah, we want to see how many badges we can make this weekend as long as supplies last. We'll be in the hangout zone. I want to try this out. Again, I've been mentioning Lori over and over and over. Lori Greene, if you want to check it, she's amazing. Love her to death. iDigHardware is her blog. It's full of photos and fun stories of code violations and weird doors. It's got photos that I've sent her at times. So yeah, this is a really cool feel. It's fun to know this stuff. Just remember, you are not the real inspector yet. You're not the AHJ, you're not the inspector, but if you're interested in this, it's a fun career. It's something you can read up on, get certified on, and keep people safe. Whether you are keeping people safe by doing inspections or by doing break-in and pen testing, we are all just trying little by little and bit by bit and inch by inch to drag like the freaking people who run buildings into the future and make the regular citizens safer each day. So holy crap, I talked forever. I love you for being here. Yeah. We're going to be in the hangout area.